Hello, welcome to the myracing.com Cheltenham Festival Preview for 2019. I'm joined by a star-studded panel here to my left today. First of all, my first left is Dean Goddard of myracing.com, regular on the programme, of course. Hi, Dean, you right?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
Looking forward to the festival?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Cannot wait. Next to Dean is a man who won the Gold Cup back in 1998 on Cool Dawn, and now works for Radio 5 and Sky Sports Racing. Andrew Thornton is here.
Afternoon.
You right?
Yeah, all good. All good.
Got all the winners lined up for us?
Yeah, whether they're going to win at this festival or the next one, I'm not sure.
And to my far left is a man who we all know very well from ITV Racing and Sky Sports Racing. It's Matt Chapman. Hi, Matt.
Good to be here, Enzo, isn't it? 4 days of just hardcore action. Anyone's going to enjoy that.
Yeah, we're all going to enjoy it. We're going to try and find some winners to make you enjoy it a bit more at home as well. Starting off then with the opening race, the tapes will go up, the roar will be loud as the runners are sent on their way over 2 miles for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. A race that doesn't have a great record in terms of favourites, Dean. I think only 2 have won it the last 12. Duvan and Vautour were those to win as favourites, but 10 hot pots beaten the likes of Cousin Vinny. Dungwib was a short price a few years ago, turned over. We don't have a standout in terms of a short price favourite this year, but Al Dancer looks like it will go off favourite, having won that Betfair Hurdle at Ascot last time.
Yeah, well, we were very lucky, actually, a few weeks ago to spend some time with Sam Twiston-Davies. We had him in this studio, actually, shoot a few videos with him. Oh, yeah. And I asked him, not those sort of vids, Matt.
Ginger prime time.
One of the questions, the first question I asked him was, what was your best ride at Cheltenham? Now, this was pre the Betfair Hurdle.
Right.
No hesitation. He went Al Dancer straight away. You could tell how much he rated the horse, the yard rates the horse. It's done nothing wrong. I mean, nothing went right for it, to be honest, in the Betfair Hurdle. If you listen to him after, he said he jumped it out 3rd or 4th because he thought they'd go a fair pace. They didn't. The horse was quite free. He was worried about what it'd have left at the end of the race, and it, really stormed away. Ticks every box. It's 4 out of 4 over hurdles. It's got the winning course form. I think even after it won the Betfair, I think William Twiston-Davies said about this could potentially be the best horse they've ever had. Although Sam did say he had been in the bar all afternoon.
Absolutely, that was the one worrying thing.
But it's won on soft. Really, there's not any negatives against it. And arguably, you could say that if it was trained by Willie Mullins, it could even be shorter than it is now. Could be a 6-4, 7-4 poke on what it's done if it was trained by the master trainer, perhaps. Yeah. But yeah, there's no real negatives for us with Al Dancer.
You like me, Andrew, you're not quite as sure as Dino, are you?
I'm not sure of the form of the Betfair Hurdle. Yes, he won on the bridle, he travelled well all the way around, but he beat a 7-year-old and he beat a 9-year-old. He beat a 20-1 chance in Magic Dancer and he beat a 100-1 chance in Blue Cavalier. And for me, that form, I'd be disappointed if the top 4 or 5 in the betting wouldn't have done exactly what he did at Ascot. And I just question the form slightly. Yes, he was a very impressive winner at Cheltenham, so you do know he goes on the track. There's no hesitation in that. But for me, the second favourite, Angel's Breath, Nicky Henderson has been so positive about this horse all the way round, and he wasn't disappointed with the performance at Kempton last time. He had to give the winner, Southfield Stone, £5. It was a very quick time on that occasion. Inexperience as well. The stiffer track will certainly suit because he won an Irish point-to-point, and the good thing, he won an Irish point-to-point on softer, heavy ground. So ground conditions, as we know, are going to be definitely on the slow side at Cheltenham. Whereas that Kempton run last time out for my selection, Angel's Breath, was on the quick side. The time was quicker than standard. It was a good performance, giving the winner £5. Paul Nicholls was trying to play it down that Southfield Stone wasn't that higher rated. Purely and simply in my book, that was because he was in the Imperial Cup on Saturday at Sandown. Doesn't run, but off a mark of 148 that horse has now, when you look at that and think, well, Angel's Breath has given him £5, that to me looks rock solid form for a horse that we all know with Nicky Henderson. That was a prep run. The horse blew up. Yeah. Nico wasn't over hard on him. He definitely rides him. He's not going to ride Mr. Fisher. He definitely rides Angel's Breath. The track will suit him. For me, the value is there because I've heard the 1 or 2 negatives as well for Fakadu Dederi.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yep. I heard the other day that whether this horse,
This is what happens when you have conversations with the postman early in the morning.
You get these little snippets. You get these.
Andrew?
I heard he hadn't scored great.
All the talk.
Oh, really?
And looking at the betting,
love a rumour.
looking at the
Pre-Cheltenham
betting,
rumour.
he's drifting out. He's drifting out at the moment.
He's not drifting out that much.
He's drifting out enough. But he gets the £8. You know, there's not that many 4-year-olds go for the Supreme, but Joseph O'Brien has got such a strong hand.
Doesn't need him in the trunk.
He has to farm them out, and he's got to go in different directions. So for me, I think Angel's Breath completely unexposed, and Henderson is a master at producing them right.
5-1 with Bet Victor. If you fancy taking Andrew's advice, Angel's Breath. Al Dancer 5-2 currently with Bet Victor. Matt, are you with one of those two or something else in the race?
To be honest, no, I am with something else. My feeling with this is you're absolutely right that there's no standout. It's almost like a handicap when you're actually looking at it. Obviously not in terms of weights, but you know you could make a case for a lot of these. So my main thing I'd say to anyone watching this is if you really fancy one, just go with what you fancy because it's one of those races I don't think you can have a strong opinion on, and certainly you couldn't back it up with much form analysis, if you see what I mean. Something's going to win, people will get it right, but whether they'll get it right because they actually know all about the horse is not necessarily true. I'm with Andrew on Al Dancer. For me, you know, he was beating a 1-2-5 horse over hurdles 2 runs ago. I mean, that's about £30 off what you need to do to win a race like this. He won the Betfair hurdle in sort of off a mark in the 140s. Again, that's still £15 what you need. And I didn't feel he won that with 15, £20 in hand. Admittedly, because this isn't a vintage renewal, you might not have to go to the great heights that sometimes you have to go to. The latest movie of Meet the Facadooderies, that horse I want to take on. I always want to take on the youngster, the 4-year-olds against these, despite getting the weight. If the ground came up really soft, I wouldn't rule out Elixir de Nuts just because he's tough and he jumps. And he's just like one of those horses you feel there's going to be something better than him. There's going to be something with a bit more razzmatazz than for Elixir de Nuts.
But if the ground is slow,
he's going to grind it out. You know he stays. I wouldn't rule out that each way. But the horse I'm actually going for each way, and this is Aramon. He's a Grade 1 winner already 2 runs ago. He was only just touched off by Classical Dream last time, who may not go here, although he could go here. He could go for the Ballymore as well. I felt that was a race where the horse with the rail had the big advantage. Classical Dream was on the rail and sort of rallied back. But what I like about Aramon is that I think he's got loads of experience. He jumps well. He's proven at Grade 1 standard. And I think he's going to love coming off a strong gallop because he looks to me like a horse to be delivered late. And there aren't many races in Ireland that you can do that because they just poodle around. This will be a race run to suit him. So at relatively decent odds,
10-1.
I think Aramon's got a great each-way chance in a wide open heat.
Okay, Matt Chapman then with Aramon. 10-1, by the way, with Bet Victor, currently Aramon. If you fancy that horse, he was very impressive at Leopardstown, wasn't he, over Christmas? One of the runners in the race at Fort Willie Mullins. So we're going to sum up the Supreme Novices. Dean, sticking with Al Dancer, you're very keen on him.
Yeah, we're sticking with Al Dancer. I think Elixir de Nuts is the main danger. I think that was good form in the Tolworth. The second Grand Sance, he won the Kingwell next time. Southfield Stone come out and won the Dovecot. It's because it doesn't do it flashy that I think it might have been overlooked. But yeah, if it's soft ground, that would be the danger. But we're sticking with Al Dancer.
Who's currently 5-2, market leader Al Dancer. Andrew's bringing a solid case out of Angel's Breath, 5-1 currently with our
Same owner as well, front two, aren't they?
You are?
yeah, well, lack of experience in a race like with the race, the way the races are now, you'll probably end up with a dozen runners.
Yeah, we're at the opposite ends of the scale as far as experience. Aramon, I mean, he's not going to be any better than he's been already, except if the pace of the race improves him. Whereas Angel's Breath might have tons of improvement there. Time will tell.
For Nicky Henderson to put him straight into a graded race, first time over hurdles at Ascot, something he does not do.
Okay. Angel's Breath for Andrew, and Matt's certainly beating the drum for Aramon each way at 10-1. They are the panel selections for the Supreme Novices Hurdle, race 1 on day 1 of the 2019 Cheltenham Festival. On we go now to the Arkle. Some great horses have won this down the years. The likes of Azertiop going back a bit. Sprinter Sacra, of course. Altior, a recent winner. Doesn't quite have that feel this year, does it, Dean? I've got to admit, it doesn't look the strongest Arkle. Le Richebourg was ruled out last week. He would have been the clear favourite for Joseph O'Brien. It's kind of got an open look to it, isn't it? I think Layla's going to go off favourite, but there's not that much positivity surrounding that horse at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you look at recent winners of this, Footpad, Altior, Duvan. We're certainly not going to get one of them from it this year by the looks of it. Laylaw, it's been on the drift last night, wasn't it? I think think on the exchanges it was trading at about 7 or something on the exchanges. That's probably down to the going. This is one of those races, I think, of all of them on day one where the going is going to be vital. Because if it is soft, that's not really going to suit Laylor, you wouldn't think. But if it's not that bad, the race could really be run to suit it. There's 3 horses in here who are bang front runners, you'd imagine. Glenforsa, Ornua, Knockanoost, they all want to grab the lead early on. I think they'll go a fair clip. If the ground's not too bad and Richard Johnson can get it popping away out the back, it should suit Laylor. If it's too soft, then obviously we'd be having to think about it. It's a difficult one at the moment until you know what the going is going to be on the day, I think, with this race.
But no longer favoured as well, Bet Victor, by the way.
Come on, Dino, you can't just...
Well, tell me what the going is.
It will be...
Mixture of soft,
good to soft and softish.
If there's good to soft in it, Laylor. Picks them off. They'll
We're going to have trouble with this horse's name. We really are, because everyone in Ireland calls it Lawler.
Yeah.
And if you call it Laylor in Ireland, I tell you what, you get taken out and strung up. You get abuse. Like the Irish, this is Lawlor. But then we have the problem that Cayley, the Woolacott team, have decided it's called Laylor.
Yeah.
So there's got to go with Cayley.
It's got to be Laylor.
I tell you, I fear it might not be alcohol fighting at Cheltenham this year. It could be a fight over Laylor or Lawlor. We could break out in the Guinness enclosure.
We record 2 pieces and call it Lawler in one for the Irish viewers and Laylor for the UK ones. But 7-2 is your choice. Andrew, I think you've got a different train of thought.
I'm against. I just on the ground. I just got a feeling that Laylor's what I would say is a spring one at the Aintree Festival and as one at the early part of the season, first time out there at Cheltenham. Looked very impressive, but on completely different ground what you're going to encounter at the Cheltenham Festival. Didn't jump particularly well at Sandown in the second run, but I think that was more of an afterthought, that race. Don't think it was really on the agenda, so I wouldn't read too much into that. But for me, the ground conditions play such a big part. I saw Glenforsa work on Tuesday morning at Mick Shannon's and looks very, very well. Looks $1 million, worked with a 95 rated flat horse, and I arguably worked better than a 95 rated flat horse, over a mile. Looks, in itself, looks a picture. Guaranteed to handle the ground, doesn't have to make the running. Made the running last time out because there was no gallop. Doesn't have to make the running, but is a horse that you bounce out down the middle because you know that Knocknanas
They'll want to be bang Andy with it, though, won't they? Because it's one over 3 miles.
Will be bounced out the gate, no question. But not going to. If Knocknanas is going too quick, not going to take on Knocknanas, but going to be ridden very positively and just ride it within itself. As the old saying goes, ride the horse, not the race.
Yeah.
You can only go as quick as the individual underneath you. And one thing that this horse is good to soft doesn't matter. Cutting the ground, perfect. Johnny Burke. He's got an awful lot of experience for a young rider. He's had some good jobs along the line. He's got them and arguably he's lost them, but that's no fault of his own. I think he's a top-class jockey who's with plenty of experience, won't get fazed by the occasion. Mick Shannon, although he's mainly on the flat, he's got a very, very good record with his jumpers. And he will have it there at the Cheltenham Festival for owner Tim Radford. Cherry ripe. And as I say, the horse couldn't look any better or be any better. Can't see it out to 3.
Okay, it's been backed actually with Bet Victor now. 3-1 favourite Glenforsa ahead of Laylor in the market. Defy de Soy, of course, has got another engagement next week at 4-1. Duke Geneva has been backed. He's for me to say Willie Mullins' horse.
Well, he's another pace pressure horse because he made all. I mean, he looks like a natural front runner as well. So you remember this race 12 months ago when all the jockeys appeared to a bat foot pad. It's like you have to.
Oh, Matt, come on.
Well, did you not see the 2 nutters up front?
They did.
Yeah, but St Calvados didn't have a that's the way he races, and then Davey was chasing him
They always say, Andrew, look for the ones out the back, but the easiest way to get a horse beat is go too fast. And those two were just.
I couldn't agree more with it. Footpad picked it up, but it is a race where you've got to rely on your jockey. The thing for me with Glenforsa, it doesn't have to make the running.
No.
But you can bounce out. Is a very relaxed horse. So from that point of view, you just get on with wherever you're happy.
The reason why it's lovely to make the running with him is because he's one of these novices that you can chuck at fences.
Yeah.
He'd be like a typical Richard Johnson ride, kamikaze, native river type. But what I'm saying is with him you can mate lengths. So you want him in some ways to be getting that easy lead, so he can just keep.
He won't be getting an easy lead. One thing, because Knocknanas is free going, But one thing about him, for me, what happened last time out, he got harried down at the start. He's a little bit slow at jumping off last time out. So for me, he's an early season horse. But look, it is still a wide open Arkle.
Okay, but you're going to go with Glenn Forza?
Oh, 100%.
Andrew, confident shout for Glenn Forza. 3-1 shot currently with Bet Victor. Matt, what's going to be your choice? I mean, it's a really difficult Arkle this year.
It really is. And Glenn Forza is a very exciting horse, and he's the kind of the improver, isn't he? Because he just keeps winning. Yeah. Right-handed and left-handed. I like the fact he's been in a big field at Chester as well. I think it was a novice handicap that he won there.
And that was over 2 miles 7.
Yeah. But it just shows hustle and bustle aren't going to affect him. He seems to have all the experience already. He's done it in small fields, big fields. Laylaw or Lawlaw, I mean, I just don't think it's as good as everyone wants it to be. I think they're too cut up in the story of the Woolacotts, and they're not looking at the facts sometimes with this horse. I mean, the Aintree race it won wasn't amazing, but it was okay. It won first time out, and then it got beat. First time out, it wasn't the biggest field or anything.
I mean, it was down as well, wasn't it?
On the day, it looked really cool, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is a good horse, but I'd like to see more. Defi Desor, we think will go with the JLT. Kalashnikov's interesting. I was on a panel with Ruby Walsh not so long ago, and I sort of said, Kalashnikov, he's beaten right-handed by Glenn Force. Just forget about his right-handed form. He seems a different horse left-handed. And then I sort of went, he's second in the Supreme after all. And Ruby gave me that look where you're in for trouble. And he just said to me, and the form of the Supreme? And I went, well, the winner, Black Hawk, he's all right, sort of thing. And he said the third, fourth, and fifth. And then when you actually look back at that Supreme Novices Hurdle, it was an absolutely
weak, wasn't it?
I don't. From all accounts, when he ran at Sandown, he looked very light. Yeah. Not like he did last year, where he looked like a bull of a horse.
He's 8-1 now. Look, he was favourite a few weeks ago.
I don't think he's. I just think he's just. I was a big thing. He doesn't go right-handed.
Yeah. And
he's better left-handed, but the zip like he was in his first start of the season just isn't there with his jumping. I watched him. I thought he's going to really take. He's taken to the fences, but in the last couple of starts, although it's going right-handed, but he just, as in the physique of the horse, he's looked a little on the light side. Now to try and get that back before Cheltenham is not an easy.
But early season, the way he jumped and travelled, he did look like a class act. Sometimes you have to use your eyes rather than just the facts. And there was something about him. I felt he did have some class in him. So, look, you can't rule out Kalashnikov. But breaking it down, I think Glenn Forcer is the improver, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he won. But on my trips to Ireland recently, more and more there have been vibes for Gordon Elliott's Hardline as an each-way possibility. And in an open race, I've kind of gone with Glenn Forcer in just about everywhere I've done, but I think nearer the time, I'm sort of thinking, hold on, this Hardline dropped back in trip, didn't run too bad. I think it was behind Labago Ra the other day. And you get some vibes, and I'm thinking, well, I don't really know about this race. It's a tough race. Hardline each way is beginning to come. When you actually go through his form, it looks quite attractive.
Running up the hill, won't he? You can imagine if they go quick, which they probably will, he'll be staying on up the hill.
A lot of it comes down to how well the horses are from the yards on the day. You've got to have yards which are.
Well, if he comes from Gordon Elliott's yard, so anyone who comes from Gordon's yard eats well. So this horse will be in good shape. Well, 3 or 4 meals.
And you knew all about that.
Well, I used to, till I turned into you, super buff.
I've backed Hardline myself at 28s each way for the Arkle.
It's got no chance then, has it?
So
we know it's not going to win.
Let's put the markers on it.
No, it's.
But the form is good. I mean, that run against Labagawa, I was trying to give her £7 and over 2 mile 5. And if you watch that race, it was well out the back early doors.
On quickish ground?
On quickish ground, I'd be worried. But
that was quick. No, what I'm saying is that was on quickish ground.
Yeah, I'm saying Hardline will be better.
You're going to have more juice in the ground.
I had that down as the each way. The value's gone a bit now. It's down to about 7s. I say only about a week ago, I was on a panel in Hereford. It was 14-1, so it's halved just in a week.
I think that's on the back. I think that's on the back of the fact that it's such an open race.
Yeah, obviously. And as Matt says, it seems to be the talking horse, especially in Ireland, for this race, and it ain't a great Arkle.
We're all going on snippets of one run for each horse, but then there's a disappointing run.
That's it, isn't it? Same with Layla, Kalashnikov as well. But I guess Glenn Force is the one who doesn't have that disappointing run, does he? Because
he's just, to me, he's on that upward curve.
Upwardly mobile, yeah. Okay, so that wraps up the Arkle. Then the selections. Hardline for Matt at 7-1 with Bet Victor. If you're with Andrew, he likes Glenn Forza. 3-1 currently with Bet Victor. And Dean thinks that Layla could win, although he's backed Hardline at bigger prices. Layla at 7-2 with Bet Victor. That wraps up the Arkle Chase. Feature race on day one, though, is the Champion Hurdle, which, of course, is a note more open this year. Perhaps Bouverdare looking to try and win it for the third time, trying to join the likes of See You Then and Isterbrack, who, of course, both won 3 Champion Hurdles. I'm not sure this horse has quite had the fanfare that Isterbrack had. Obviously, he hasn't won his third yet.
Well, that's because he's not as good, Enzo.
But if he wins a third, I mean, we should be going crazy about Bouverdare, shouldn't we, Andrew Thornton?
Come on.
No?
Yeah, when you said he hasn't had the, Isterbrack, what he beat Theatre World 3 times, did he not? In a Champion Hurdle?
But in between, he was winning Irish Champion Hurdles and destroying really good horses in great races.
Very difficult to go from era to era.
Bouverdare wasn't right last year, was he?
He wasn't right, and he still won a Champion Hurdle.
Was he almost 12
Had a wind up.
pounds below?
If you can believe what Nicky said, he was boxed next to We Have a Dream. They pulled We Have a Dream out on the Monday at Cheltenham. That was sick. He reckons they're nose to nose pretty much in the box. Bouverdare, despite winning the Champion, he said he normally comes out of his races really well, and the horse was pretty much in bits after it had won. So he reckons that it's won the Champion last year despite being nowhere near its best.
And the jockey didn't get half as much credit as he should have, because he smuggled him there to win last year, Barry Geraghty. But he knows the horse so well. Yes, he's made 1 or 2 mistakes this season. But when Barry Geraghty, you hear him say he's the quickest horse he's ridden over a hurdle in his life. That's the one thing he has at his advantage. From my point of view in this race, I can't have Apple's Jade.
2-1 chance you don't fancy her at all?
Not at all. Purely and simply.
Although her form this year is brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, I'm not knocking her form this year, but when you look when she's gone into Cheltenham and her 3 previous seasons, her run at Cheltenham has been £7 to £10 below that previous run. Now, arguably they're saying that she was in season last year, and they think they can manage that. But was she in season the year before and the year before that? Yes, she's got 1 win to her name.
She won the
in the Mares
2 years
hurdle,
ago, yeah.
But she didn't win it easily. She struggled to
She
win.
got beat the Triumph, didn't she, by Ivanovic Gorbatov?
And my point is, she just does not act around. She has the habit of going out to the right.
She does jump slightly to the right.
Which you see at Leopardstown. You can get away with it all day because she's not been pressurised up front. And they are going, compared to what they do at Cheltenham, a completely different gallop. She was exceptional at Aintree there, wasn't she, 3 years ago? When she demolished
After
the
the Triumph hurdle, yes.
But again, it's a flat track. And it's not Cheltenham. So for me, the fact that she runs £7 to £10 worse at Cheltenham than on that previous start, I just put a line to it. Bouverdare, he's completely the opposite. He's £7 to £10 better at Cheltenham compared to his prep run. So if you thought his prep run was good at Sandown, then put another £7 to £10 on it. Vision de Flow went and bolted up. Look, it wasn't a great race down at Fontwell in the Game Spirit, the race the other day. I can't remember.
National Spirit.
National Spirit Hurdle. But he still went and franked the form and he won it. Okay. But Bouverdare will be better. So that's talking about him. But for me, the way the weather is, I'm turning towards Lorena because she loves soft ground. With the ground conditions, she has to have it soft. She handles the track. She demoralised the field there last year. Look, it wasn't a great race, but she won by 18 lengths pulling up. Yes, over 2.5 miles. The way her prep run went the other day, you might say she jumped the first few hurdles a little bit on the big side, but they were crawling. What she did from 2 out to the way she jumped the last hurdle, I was so impressed with her the other day.
With Ruby on, you'd want
Quick,
to jumping big, wouldn't you?
Slick, accurate. Why, are you knocking Ruby now?
No.
No.
Just saying, you've got to get over them. The power.
The fact is, the way she jumped that last hurdle, I think she's going to power up.
So you're a Lorena man.
Getting the £7 allowance, I'm a big Lorena fan.
7-2 for Andrew Thornton. Lorena, Matt, what do you make of it? I mean, Bouverdare, of course, beaten at Kempton, wasn't he, in that Christmas hurdle?
He's just not great hurdler, Bouverdere, and he's just not. Let's not forget this was a horse who went chasing.
Isterbrack fell 3 times over hurdles, and he was a great hurdler.
No, I don't mean as in he can't jump. He can jump.
He's won substandard
I mean,
champions.
talent-wise, yeah. And the funny thing is, people say, he disappointed in last year's champion hurdle, but the official BHA ratings just don't back that argument up. When he won the champion hurdle 2 years ago, he was rated 157. He was given a £10 rise to 167. When he ran in the champion hurdle last year, he was rated 169. He was kept on 169. So the BHA actual official handicappers felt that was a £2 better performance than the one that Hendo says was better. And since then, he's been up to 172 for his last 2 races. So what the BHA officials are saying, actually, he's performed to his best mark ever in his last 2 starts when he was basically beaten by Verdana Blue. And, he did it okay the other day in the typical Mickey Mouse race at Sandown. Yeah. But what we know about Bouverdere is that he has been in a very, very weak world.
That's not his fault.
Oh, listen for once. This is why you had to retire early.
Early? No, you are the first person to ever say I retired early.
Okay, let's just go back. Let's go back 12 months, and we have Mellon and Mixed Jazz as the placed horses. Let's go back the 2 years, and we have My Tent or Yours, the old pensioner who never won anything. Petit Mouchoir, who was just never the horse that everyone really wanted him to be. And then you had Footpad, who, was basically not as good a hurdler in England. He won a few races in France, but he wasn't a great hurdler, Footpad. And the new one, who again, just was a pensioner by then. He was a 9-year-old. So, you look at those horses. They are desperate champion hurdlers. Take nothing away from him. He's won 2 champion hurdles.
The new one only won about 28 races.
But
Footpad won an Arkle.
Yeah, but you see, you're so easily pleased because you just think that the Weatherby's check at the end of the month. You're not dealing in
You
facts.
can only beat what is there.
You can, and he struggled to do that. But he has done it. But what we know, if we're honest about Bouverdere is, and Verdana Blue proved it the other day, that he is beatable.
Yeah.
And there is just a chance, getting £7, as Andrew said, which is huge. They should be off levels, but he gets £7. There's just a chance that Apples, Jade and Lorena are superstars, whereas Bouverdere is not a superstar. Even if he wins 3 champion hurdles, he's not a CU then, he's not an Isterbrack.
But would you say, well, for me, I think this is the most interesting champion hurdle we've had for quite
and we
a
should
few
give
years.
full credit to the mares. They haven't been sucked into the mares hurdle. They've gone for the
100%.
what is a big event.
You're always part of that. You're always very vocal
Think
about
if those
it,
2
don't
mares
you?
weren't in there.
Bouverdere be 2's on.
We'd be just sat here saying, well, Bouverdere will win again. It's another
But
shocking renewal.
it's a classic case. You can't have everything, though. You either won 4 days of the Cheltenham Festival or you won 3. End of story. It is 4 and it's here to stay. So from the mare's point of view, the good thing is they're going down this route because from a breeding point of view, they've got Grade 1 status anyway. So from a breed, it doesn't really matter. So the fact is they've been sportsmen about it. And from Willie Mullins' point of view, I'm just pleased Benny de Dieu is in the mares race because then he obviously wants to keep Rich Ritchie and keep all the owners happy.
Which is not easy. So, summing up, obviously at the start of the season, I desperately wanted Jesus to win this, but Sam Crow, I'm afraid, hasn't turned into Jesus. In fact, if you actually look back at Jesus' career as well, didn't always end well for Jesus either. I mean, he might have done all the walking on water and all that, but at the end of the day, it didn't end too well for Jesus, did it? And the same thing has happened for Sam Crow. So
what's going to win?
Well, we have Mary.
What's going to win?
We have Mary. I am all over. I don't think Lorena's going to win. I think she is absolutely going to you-know-what in. And I think the running style of the race is so key because Applejade's going to bang off in front. And I just think Ruby will sit 3-4 lengths behind in second, will get first crack at Applejade and will just draw the sting out of Bouverdere, who's just not good enough to beat these mares getting £7. So I'm with Andrew.
After all that.
But in a much more sensibly argued
Okay.
debate than your one.
Lorena then.
Flawed in so many ways.
2 very good votes for Lorena, made out in different ways. Are you going to make it a treble for Lorena, or are you thinking elsewhere?
The
No.
ultimate burden.
Definitely not.
You don't like her?
Well, it's not that I don't like her, but I just think this would be, it'd be an exceptional, even above the exceptional performance for her to win this.
We've just
after
explained why it
6
doesn't have to be.
hurdle race. Yeah, but when you're saying about what's Bouverdere beat, unless I'm mistaken, I've gone through what Lorena's beat, and the highest rated horse she's actually beat is Maria's Benefit, 147.
Really tough man, love Maria's
Right?
Benefit.
So
style
you
of her
can't
win,
really
she
knock what
Spat
Bouverdere's
Maria's Benefit
beat
out
and then
as if
say,
it was called Dawn.
yeah. She's won easily
But you can only beat
every
what's-
race.
you can only beat
Same with
what's
Bouvedere.
Yeah.
So, to sum up, for us, my racing, Lorena could be exceptional, but she's going to have to be of a different planet to beat these two, Apples Jade and Bouvedere, on the back of just 6 runs, beating nothing. Apples Jade, you've got the worry about Cheltenham. As you said, yeah, she won the Mares a couple of years ago, but she beat Limini a length and a half, Vroom Vroom Mag length and a half, whatever it was. Bouvedère's been there, done it. There's no reason to disbelieve what Nicky said about last year's race, and how Bouvedere come out of it, and it probably wasn't at his best going into the race. To win a champion hurdle and not be 100%, I think the horse has been underestimated.
I can't knock him.
And if you look at the last 3 horses to have won this race 3 times, I mean, Bouvedere, from a value point of view, because we're looking at it from a betting angle here as well, Bouvedere could go off, and probably will go off, because when the Irish start piling into there too, he could go off around 5-2 on the day. This is a horse that's won the last 2 champion hurdles. Imagine if he won 3. Isterbrak, when he won his third, was 8-15. See You Then was 11-10. Persian War was 5-4. You'd be sitting there going, were we crazy?
How was he
letting
that
go off
price?
5-2?
My thing is, it's the reverse forecast with Lorena, because I can't have Apples Jade.
Okay.
Well, we're going Bouvedere.
Okay. What about anything else at prices? I mean, people talk about Sharjah at 10s, Verdana Blue.
Spring horse.
I don't think there's going to be
Melon.
enough.
Sharjah's a spring horse. It's once decent top of the ground and is a spring horse. Melon
Oh, come on. If Mellon won the champion,
might pinch a
Last year was
place.
a chance, wasn't it?
Mellon won't win the champion hurdle.
No.
But if you remember, we were on a panel together last year, the 3 of us, and I said about Mellon, and it was coming into the champion hurdle on the back of a poor run in the Irish
was
Champ.
last year.
And I got laughed at then, and I said, trust me, this horse will be at its best in the champion hurdle. It might not be enough to win it, but that will be the best
Really
you'll
was.
see of Mellon will be on the champion hurdle. And I think it'll be the same this year.
I can have it
It could
finished in
sneak a
front.
place.
Yeah.
It won't win it,
I
but
couldn't
it's
have
around
Mellon
20-1. I think it could sneak a place.
Of the bigger ones, I think the most talented horse, although he's clearly had so many operations, he doesn't know whether he's in the hospital or on the track, but Brain Power has always been a horse they've talked about as the horse that works with Altior, works as well as Altior. Michael Buckley's always been told by Nicky, this is an absolute monster. But he's had operations on all sorts of things. But the one thing Brain Power will do and love in this race, because he's gagged for it all his life, is an incredibly strong pace to run at. And we know that this is going to be a true run, because Apples Jade can't win it if she doesn't go off like the Clappers. So, and Lorena wants it to be a test as well. And, who's to say that, we know there's a couple of McManus horses in there as well. And who's to say that they won't be the golden freezes of the champion hurdle? Like Espoir Dallin,
Dallin, yeah.
who wouldn't say that won't take on Apples Jade up front? Try and spoil her.
They have been saying that she doesn't have to make it. But she can only go as quick
Have a look
as
at how
she
she
can
wins
go.
her races, Andrew.
Yeah, but they will bounce her out. But you can only go as quick as.
Have a look at how she wins her races.
Yeah.
She is a dominatrix of the champion hurdle field.
Okay, so we've got a pair of Lorenas and a Bouvedere for the champion hurdle. So Matt with Lorena,
Cabs you like,
Andrew also with Lorena at 7-2, and Dean thinks that Bouvedere
You're
will
laughing
join the
about Enzo
greats.
as well. I know your membership. Right, carry on.
Okay, that wraps up the champion hurdle then. The Unibet champion hurdle, we think it could be Lorena's day, although Dean thinks that Bouvedere will make it.
Who do you fancy, Enzo?
I'm with you guys. I think Lorena will win it. I think she's an absolute monster.
Outvoted here, isn't I?
Yeah,
I think you could back her each way.
Yeah, she could go 4-1, couldn't she?
You're only losing tiny fractions on each way terms. You'd be in the 3, wouldn't
You
you?
convinced me. It's Lorena's champion hurdle. Right, let's wrap up the rest of day 1, shall we? We've got the Mares race, Benny de Deux, Matt. Good thing in that for Willie Mullins.
Look, this is fairly simple. Defending champion, been off the track a long time, that doesn't worry me at all, has been laid out for this race. Funnily enough, I have been on panels where people have said, you've got to take her on. The form's that not strong. But she's not just Apples Jade she's beaten when Apples Jade probably not her best. But she's had good horses behind her like La Bagoa, Prava Laguna, who's a very talented mare as well. And she's destroyed those. Look, it's absolutely hers for the taking. And the other thing is, some says you have to listen to people. Ireland's champion trainer, one of the most talented men that has ever been on the planet as far as preparing horses for Cheltenham, says it's his best chance at the festival. And if you're really just going to ignore what someone like Willie Mullins says, you're going to need help in this game, because not every trainer tries to help you out, but there's no reason for Mullins to say that and not believe it. Rich Ritchie thinks it's as well. Ruby Walsh thinks it's as well. If that doesn't convince you that Benny de Deux is the most likely winner, then I don't know what will. Obviously, the price isn't amazing.
Willie
But he's
Mullins-
going to win.
Yeah, but
10-11 currently.
as I say, Willie Mullins, he's not a betting man, so it doesn't matter.
Well, we don't actually know that.
But he's
Might be
telling you
lumping
this
on
is
every
his
day,
best.
Andrew.
He's telling you this is his
You
best
tipped.
chance.
You tipped up Midnight Tour last year,
did.
66 to 1 second.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Let's give you some credit for
Remember
that.
Yeah.
So we want a 66 to 1 place horse again this year, please. Andrew.
Difficult. I think Willie Mullins could run a few others in this. Stormy Island will probably run in this.
It's going to cut up this race, isn't it? There's not going to be the many runners.
I think just Benny de Dieu is so far in front. If this was arguably if this was run around Leopardstown as a prep race, she should be 2s on.
Yeah.
She should be 2s on. She's Ruby. This is his best chance of a winner. Willie's best chance. She's just straightforward.
Jumping as well. She's been chasing, so you've not even got that thing. Oh well, she could come down or whatever. I mean, she's jumped fences. She's very unlikely to fall.
She's your versatile type. She's like the super sub. She fits into this race. Ideal.
Yep.
Go and win it. Thank you very much.
10 to 11 could be a day one banker. Dean, what do you think about that race? And also, there's also the 4-miler, isn't there, with OK Corral and the Close Brothers as well on Tuesday.
Not really looked at the Close Brothers. OK Corral, I think, is going to take an awful lot of beating, but
OK Corral could have been a Gold Cup horse if he hadn't
wasn't
been
fragile.
so hard to train.
Yeah.
Because he's a monster-looking animal. He's got Cheltenham form. He's built like a brick house, and he's clearly. I mean, that win at Warwick was pretty scintillating the other.
Good win at Warwick. I just worry.
to bring Derek O'Connor over that day as well.
But my worry is the trip. Darryl Jacob was saying he saw this horse work the other morning, and he worked with a 2-miler and was as quick as the 2-miler. I just worry that
Speed as well. Speed and stamina.
But I worry about the trip because Nicky Henderson generally doesn't have that many staying horses of this calibre. I just worry about the trip. I'm with it. The trainer's in such good form. Impulsive Star, Neil Mulholland. The horse ran in the race last year.
Yeah.
Finished fourth.
Wasn't it?
Got well beaten, but a second season novice coming into a race like this. Won at Warwick, equally as impressive, over 3 mile 5 in a handicap. Definitely goes for this race. At the yard, probably the yard that's coming into the festival, after having a bit of a quiet time through the winter months, is coming here in better form than any other yard. Okay. And at the prices, 12, 14 to 1, good value.
Okay, that about wraps up day one. Just to remind you again that BetVictor's sign-up offer as well, 30 to 1 for Gordon Elliott, Willie Mullins, who we've talked about there, and or Nicky Henderson to be top trained. Just sign up with BetVictor and you take your pick, and you get 30 to 1 about one of those trainers. We fancy them to be top trainer. We'll get the lads' thoughts on who might be top trainer at the end of the show. That wraps up though the first day of the Cheltenham Festival.
So we've got an exclusive offer for my racing this year, 30 to 1 for £1 maximum on either Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott or Nicky Henderson to be top trainer at the Cheltenham Festival this year. And to put that price into perspective, let's have a look at what we've got at the moment. We're 5 to 4 Gordon Elliott, we're 7 to 4 Nicky Henderson, and we're 3 to 1 Willie Mullins. You've got to go back to 2009 before another trainer actually won the top trainer at Cheltenham. These three currently dominate the scene. Willie Mullins has had 61 winners since 1995. Nicky Henderson 60 winners since 1985 and Gordon Elliott 22 winners since 2011, including 15 in the last 2 years. He actually had 8 winners last year and took the Trainers' Championship. So it's pretty much a certainty that you're going to collect on this 30 to 1, bar a miracle. Let's have a look at the horses they've got. Nicky Henderson, very strong position. He's got Altior in the Champion Chase. That horse is unbeaten, an absolute superstar, currently 4 to 11, probably just has to jump round to collect. He's got Bouble Dare, the 7 to 4 favourite for the Champion Hurdle. It's won it the last 2 years. Very solid chance. He's got great chances like Champion the Ballymore and a lot of other chances in the novice hurdles, and he'll have chances in the handicaps as well. Gordon Elliott, he's got Tiger Roll, the Grand National winner, Tiger Roll last year, an immense horse, goes for the cross country again, won it last year, currently even money, probably might start odds on. That looks a banker for many people. He's also got Apple's J, which runs against Bouble Dare in the Champion Hurdle, and he's got massive chances in the handicaps. He'll have loads of runners in the handicaps. I think at 5 to 4 he's probably the one that will win it. 3 to 1 Willie Mullins. Everyone knows all about Willie Mullins. He's dominated the festival for years. He hasn't got a greatest of strings this year, but beware the injured trainer, so to speak. He will have winners, and 3 to 1 represents his chance probably this year. It won't come outside the first three. At 30 to 1, it's a mad price, and I'll be very surprised if you don't collect.
Just before we start the Day 2 preview of the Cheltenham Festival 2019, reminder the free bet offer with that Bet Victor as well for every race at the Cheltenham Festival. Just bet £5 on a new sign-up account on Bet Victor, and you'll get a £1 free bet for every race at the Cheltenham Festival, and also a £10 casino bonus as well. So that's well worth having a look at there. What about Day 2? Then we're going to start off with the Ballymore Novices Hurdle on Wednesday, 2 mile 5. And Dean, I'll come to you first of all. Champ, of course, the horse named after AP McCoy, is probably going to go off favourite here for JP McManus.
Yeah, I mean, he's been held in high regard, hasn't he, for a while now. Very impressive in the Challow. Brewing Up the Storm was behind him that day. It's not so much what he's beat. Sometimes you just have to look at a horse and see the manner and the way it's won rather than what it's beat. I don't like... I think I was talking to Matt and Andrew before we come on air, and I think Battle of Doyen's sort of one of the main talking horses in Ireland. I don't like that last bit of form. That last bit of form... When he won that Grade 1, he went off 2-1 favourite. Mullins had 2 in the race that were 9-4 and 4-1, and it was double digits, bar them 3. The Mullins 2 horses, one of them finished tailed off and was coughing after the race. The other one was pulled up. The third home in that race was beaten 20 lengths next time, and the fourth 70 lengths. I'm just not convinced by that race has fell apart. I think.
Too short, 7-2
Too short.
now?
It's too short. It's 7-2, 4-1. It is the talking horse. I would rather Champ over Battle of Doyen all day long.
Champ 11-4 then gets Dean's vote. We'll go to Andrew next.
Well, I'm slightly worried about the. There's no Challow winner won this race for such a long time. So it's just the form of that race doesn't always stack up. I do like the horse because he's not flash. He just gets the job done. He's tough. But the talking horse is definitely Battle of Doyen. I think the ground conditions will suit. Yes, that race didn't work out, but he still won it nicely. It was only on good ground. The slow ground won't be a problem to him. So for me, that's the rock solid. If you're looking for an angle outside the front 2, City Island. He's related. The dam's a half sister to Granville again and Morley Street. It's there in the. It's in the pedigree. He's been very impressive. Very good trainer, Martin Brazel. Very, very good trainer. Completely unexposed and has won very easily this season. And probably one of, as I say, if it was trained by a Mullins or an Elliott, this would be a shorter price. I'm going to look outside the front 2 and go for an each way angle. 9-1.
City Island.
City Island.
City Island then for Andrew Thornton each way at 9-1. Matt, we'll come to you. I mean, Champ does have a higher rating, doesn't he, than Battle over Doyen?
Well, I think he's rated 150 now,
Yeah,
but when he ran in the Challenge, I'm sure he was 155 because it was just crazy. I mean, look, the BHA go crazy with their ratings. Like, there's no way Champ was a 155 horse, and it all evolves from summer jumping and things like that, and everything gets elevated far, far too high. I mean, Champ had basically done very little and was already considered a Cheltenham Festival winner if you went on its rating. It's crazy. I think impressions rather than form is the thing with Battle over Doyen and also with Champ. That Challow form is desperate now. The second, stuffed at Kelso. The third finished 7th of 9, and Brewing Up a Storm would have probably won the race in another half a furlong. If you watch that Challow again, Brewing Up a Storm is absolutely flying at the finish. Well, in the broadest sense of the term of flying. Then you go to Battle over Doyen, who looked, I thought, brilliant in his first race. Jumped so slickly, like a monster. Pretty good in the second race, and actually his Grade 1 victory I wasn't impressed with at all, as the boys have said.
Quickest ground though.
Yeah, I've spoken to Davy Russell, he's keen, but then Davy's talking about a Jigginstown horse at the panel. He's not going to talk it down, so you don't quite know what he really believes. My feeling with Battle over Doyen, I think he's much more likely to be winning an RSA chase than he is a Cheltenham Festival hurdle race. I'm kind of almost even surprised they're running him. I just don't think he's built for Cheltenham Festival hurdle races. I don't think he's a hurdler, really. I mean, I'm not saying he's not talented. His talent is getting him through at the moment. But I think he could get lost in a field like this.
You've got to go down this route if you're thinking of it as an RSA horse, You've got to have a sample of Cheltenham to find out whether the horse does enjoy
Possibly, but
the
Jigginsdown
festival.
don't always, Andrew.
But with the horses like this, where do you go with him? Do you,
Well, I
do you
just pop
serve
him-
him?
you could
Do you
just-
serve him till Punchestown? It's a long time till Punchestown.
But you could just run in a grade. He doesn't need to be winning or running in grade 1s, for instance. He could
But
just
it's
run in little
Cheltenham.
grade 2, grade 3.
It's Cheltenham.
Well, let's see what happens, and then you can say, well, it's Cheltenham after when he's finished 17th and 19th.
But
He's
then,
ruined for the
then
rest
they
of the
might
season.
say that actually he doesn't handle the track and we won't go back there.
Just touch my knee then. So anyway, cutting a long story short, I think both for the coming back to Champ, everything about the way he races suggests a strong pace in a big field will suit him. He looks like a traveller to me. He doesn't look like a horse who finds an awful lot once he's let down. But travelling, he is going to be one of those horses who's going to cruise round. And you could just imagine the cheer at the top of the hill for Champ when every punter who's on the market leader sees him cruising behind the leaders. And I think at the top of the hill, he will be like this, Barry, on a snaff. Something you probably never experienced at Cheltenham, except perhaps on French Holly.
French Holly.
Luckily, I just said it in time. But I'm going to go each way here, and it might surprise people, but I actually think Brewing Up a Storm is
10
a
to
fair
1.
each way horse. As I say,
He got lucky when he fell, wasn't he? Was he going to win that day, do you think?
Well, Barry Geraghty thinks he would have won. I am absolutely certain Brewing Up a Storm would have won that race.
I'm worried about his. He wouldn't be the scorpiest jumper in the world. He fell because he was sent down to the last, and he didn't come
Hold
up.
on, he fell because
did not
Dickie
come up.
does what Dickie does, and I love Dickie for doing this.
So what does
but
Dickie do?
He just
Threw him at it.
chucks it at
Absolutely threw
I
him.
mean, you'll never see Dickie sit when it comes to the last hurdle or fence. If he can go for like a 60-yarder, he'll go for a 60-yarder, which I love, but it does mean you will fall at certain stages at the final hurdles and fences in races. It's kamikaze. But that's not the issue. As I say, he would have won the Challow, I reckon, another half a furlong. I think he would have beaten Birchdale. You could argue he could have 3 1s next to his name. Ollie Murphy, not yet a man who's going to attract big attention in the markets. Yeah, he does in smaller races, but not grade 1s. So it's a reasonable price. Brewing Up a Storm each way. I rest
Okay.
my case.
10 to 1 for Matt's fancy. If you fancy Brewing Up a Storm, you want to listen to Matt.
Touch my knee again. Could you just
Lots of knee touching going on here. 10 to 1 Brewing Up a Storm for Matt each
knew you
way.
cared.
Andrew City Island each way at 9 to 1. Dean with Champ. That's 11 to 4 with Bet Victor. That's the Ballymore Novice Hurdle, the opening race on day 2. Let's move on to the RSA chase. Of course, all the news this week. We'll go to Matt first of all. Santini, is he going to run? Is he going to run? Is he over his scare? Obviously, he drifted. I mean, before the scare, I really fancied him, but obviously...
Did you?
Yeah, I thought his Newbury run was good. I think Kempton didn't suit him, but I'm just not happy now with this preparation.
I was lucky enough to go to Hendo's not so long ago to see Altior and one or two others, and they were talking about Santini. And I think he's been quite a difficult horse to train. I think he's got a bit of character about him. Look, on the back of what's happened to him, I couldn't bring myself to support him in this race now, even though I know nothing about shoes, poultices, all this kind of stuff. All I know is it doesn't sound like the ideal preparation. I know Altior had the same, in fact worse, Nicky says. Altior was a lot worse than this horse, and of course Altior. But we're talking Altior here, who's got £100 in hand. I don't know whether Santini's got £100 in hand. I love Cheltenham Festival horses that come back year after year. The style of the races, basically you don't really get them in the rest of the season, the jump season, the pace and all that kind of thing at Cheltenham, the buzz. Horses that so often come back year after year after year. They can run terrible in between, but then the festival, suddenly they light up. And I think Delta Work is so well suited to Cheltenham Festival racing. This might not be a very strongly run RSA. There's no natural massive front runners in the race. But Delta Work isn't a horse who has to come from a strong pace. He jumps well. He's ridden for me by the best jockey in the business when the money is down, in a big race jockey, Davy Russell. There is a reason why Mr. Charles Burns wants Davy Russell on his horses when the money is down. It's because, Andrew, he's got bottle. He doesn't care whether there's millions at stake. He just rides it. He is as hard as they come, and he is the best man on the planet at the moment for me in the saddle.
There we
You
go.
don't have to convince me. I agree with him.
7 to 4 now with Bet Victor Delta Work. I mean, he's got Cheltenham form, hasn't he?
I've always thought you were a really good
No,
judge.
you stop this touching that.
No, but you are a good judge. He is. This is why 5 Live, Sky Sports.
Delta Work
this
as
is why he
well?
wants him.
I'm all up. Even before Santini was
He beat Larichberg, didn't he, as well, Delta Work? I mean, early in the season.
For me, he's just
That
rock
was over
solid.
2 mile 4 when I think he just outstayed Larichberg.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think he ticks all the boxes. Santini is a young horse. He was in Nicky Henderson's yard, and he sent him away because he didn't think he was that good. Went and won a point for Polly Gundry. Very impressive. But then Nick decided he wanted him back. So he came back. He's a lovely individual, but you have got to question what he's been through. But saying that, I think Couldine went through the same sort of thing for Willie Mullins before he won an RSA.
We was talking, weren't
I
we?
think this is a better horse than Gourdon.
It could well be. I think this is a good RSA. There's a lot of young, scopy individuals coming through, but you cannot knock Cheltenham form. Presenting Percy won a Pertemps, then won an RSA. He's now favourite for a Gold Cup. If you've got a horse that handles the conditions of Cheltenham, it's worth its weight in gold. And Delta Work just ticks all the boxes. Difficult to look at. Top of the game, I'm not sure.
You looked like he was going to win at Kempton, didn't he, on Boxing Day, and then Lebaga kind of out.
That form looks good though.
Good, isn't it? Yeah,
but he is quirky. He whipped round at Exeter first time out at the tapes. He's quirky. He's a bit quirky when he hits the front. Paul Nicholls wasn't happy when Harry Cobden hit the front at Kempton. Yeah. But I want a horse who's straightforward. You know, what's he going to do if he does hit the front at Cheltenham when you've got 50,000 people screaming down the hill? Is he going to be a little bit on the quirky side? Delta Work, straightforward. And I just question, from the jumping point of view, for the top of the game, I've sat on the horse. He is huge. He's if you wanted to equate it to a human, he's 6'6".
Right.
He's run well around Cheltenham, but for me, the jumping, he jumps well enough. But I just question the second last on the old track. That can catch horses out, and for me, Delta Work is straightforward.
Jumps well, doesn't he?
On the blind side, which way will he go for Nicky Henderson?
I think he's good enough.
No, he's not.
That's for me. He's better on a flat track. I'd like to see him. I think but on the blind side would have a great chance at Aintree on a conventional flat track, and he's won at Cheltenham before. But I still come back to Delta Work. And Santini, like I say, an interrupted preparation.
Far from ideal. He's only 11-4 as well, Santini. So Delta Work, a strong case with Andrew and Matt. Dean, are you going to make it a hat-trick for Delta Works or not?
No. I've been all over Santini like a rash.
Love a Henderson staying novice.
Since Kempton. I thought the race at Kempton, he was my lay that day. I thought Kempton will not suit this horse. It's too sharp for it. They go too quick for it. I laid him halfway round. I was happy as Larry. I couldn't believe how close he got to him after the last. He's got beat about 2 lengths. That form with Le Bagois, top of the game, I think is better than the Irish novices. I admit everything's gone wrong since. Since Equine Flu broke out, Nicky was desperate to get that third run into him. 16 of the last 17 RSA winners had 3 chase runs or more. So he's going to go there with just the 2. Obviously, took him to the Gallop at Newbury, jumped 10 fences round there, which is where the shoe got ripped off. So everything's gone wrong for Santini in the last few weeks. As far as I'm no vet, obviously, but we was talking off air, 2009, I believe it was, Couldine that won the RSA. He was lame in his box on the day of the race. Mullins got a call from his stable girl and said, you better come quick, he's lame. This was a few hours before the race. So they had to do something, I don't know if he'd ripped a shoe or something. So, you know, if Nicky says he's fine, he's fine. I'm more worried about the fact he's not had that third run, you know, to give him the experience. I'm not going to desert him now. I think he's the best chaser in this race, best 3-mile chaser in this race. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the last few weeks hasn't stopped him from showing it.
Okay, 11-4 then. Santini is at Dean's fancy. Of course, we have seen this before, haven't we, Andrew? We talked about Binoculo, who drifted out and came back and won. Kicking King, I think, at the Gold Cup wasn't going to run, and then he ran and won, obviously. So these scares, I mean, Altior as well.
Uncommon.
Last year.
They're racehorses, aren't they? It must happen all the well. Altior, we said last year.
They're going to pull off shoes, and they're going to have. It's not very rarely do you go into a race where they have a absolutely crystal clear run. There's always something with horses, but you know, if Nicky Henderson said the sound, but purely and simply, I think this is a good race, but I'm just purely and simply going here like Matt, Davy Russell, round Cheltenham. For me, he's the best.
Yeah.
similar to you, because his record speaks for itself, and especially in the last 4 or 5 years, he's just gained that experience. And at the moment, he is riding with a lot of confidence.
I really believe one of the best bits of ammunition punters can have who are watching this are horses that have run well at the Cheltenham Festival before.
Yep.
Whether it's fences, hurdles, whether they're changing tack, just the way the races are run here, no other races in the season are run the same way as these. People don't go off at lunatic pace in every single handicap hurdle. These races are run in a unique way. And the horse I always pick out as an example is David Pipe's horse, who I think Martin trained as well, Buena Vista, who basically did nothing all season. I know people can say, well, that was just getting the handicap marked down for the Cheltenham Festival. But it was just...
It was just getting the handicap marked down for the Cheltenham Festival.
Buena Vista was just suited to Cheltenham Festival races, and you wouldn't have backed it in any other race in the season. And then it comes to Cheltenham, and it's like a new horse. And it's just so often these horses do come back time and time again, and just love this place.
Okay, so Matt thinks Delta Work will turn out to be a Cheltenham specialist. 7-4, Delta Work, a strong choice for Matt Chapman and Andrew Thornton, also in the Delta Work camp. Dean Goddard, though, going with Santini for Nicky Henderson at 11-4 now. Did touch 4-1, didn't he, after the drift on Monday? That's the RSA chase. Let's move on. This shouldn't take too long, should it? The Queen Mother Champion chase. Altior, Matt, can't get beat. Can he 4-11?
No, I mean, there is no point in talking about it in many ways. Altior is an outstanding chaser. His running style means that he probably doesn't get the rating he deserves for his ability. He's not going to notch up a Sprinter Sacra rating or a Masterminded rating, unless if Min runs, he can beat Min by a fence or something, which isn't totally impossible at the top of his game. But effectively, we all know he's the best horse. Obviously, accidents can happen in this sport, but if there isn't an accident of some sort and he just brings his usual game to the table, he will win. And he's just got the perfect running style for this race, because he travels okay, but what he does, which is quite unusual for a 2-mile chaser, is he puts his best work in at the end. And there is no horse to beat him. Min is a very talented animal, but he doesn't put his best work in at the end. He puts his best work in during a race. And there's no Duvan in here, who, funny enough, I think could have got Altior at it 12 months ago if he hadn't come down. He was just beginning to get Altior off the bridle. But Duvan, remember, was 1-4 to win a champion chase once or something crazy. It's like Duvan was an exceptional horse in his own right. There's nothing exceptional in here other than Altior.
No, Altior, a good thing at 4-11. Andrew?
Yeah, people knocked him a bit last year. He came off the bridle coming down the hill.
Has that gone this year almost, a flat spot? Has it not quite happened, or has he not been up
For
against
me,
it?
I don't think he really hit a flat spot last year. He was stuck on the inside, in behind a wall of horses, down the inside. He's never been in that position before. So he had nowhere to go. It was a case of, I think Nico was just starting to squeeze him along, just to hold his position, because you've got all that coming back. He's never had that before. When you've look through all his previous races, what happened when he turned in? Jumped the back of the last, and then pulled 5 or 6 lengths out from the back of the last. And that's what you're looking for. It's not what happens going down the hill. I think the horse is becoming a little bit more laid back in his races. Arguably, he jumped a little bit left round Ascot last time. So many horses jump left round Ascot because you've got the cars going down on the inside, the TV cameras, and a lot of horses tend to drift a bit left. Well, this is a left-handed track, so put a line through that. So for me, he's rock solid. If you want to back something outside of Altior and you want some value in the race, you couldn't look past God's Own. He's not going to win, but he's a very good horse at getting placed in these big races. So I give you the horse Midnight Tour last year.
40's God's Own with Bet
God's
Victor.
Own, each way, now.
There we go. He's a multiple Grade 1 winner, isn't he, as well, God's Own?
And he'll be there. He travels. He'll get through the race. He won't be far. He won't win.
Yeah.
But you're not looking for him to win at
he
that
was
sort
like
of
for-
price.
He needs more than God on his side to
But
win.
there's only going to be what? Is there going to be 8 runners? Well, go and back him each way now, because there could only be 7.
It's almost a case of he might be
6.
ridden not to win the race, almost. He'll be staying on, whereas if something like a Min might be ridden to try and beat
Well,
Altior.
he's going to be ridden to pick
That's
up the
what happened
pieces.
12 months ago.
Yeah.
Min came there, actually travelling really well 2 out. But the problem is he was trying to win it. Big mistake. You don't want to try and win
I
against
think
Altior.
that's the key. If you're going to look for a bet aside of Altior, because Altior wins.
Footpad isn't going here. So Royale isn't certain with the ground conditions.
Well,
Doesn't matter if he does.
But that's my point. So the soft, so you're looking down thinking, what can Simply Ned? St
Struggling, aren't you?
Calvados. Well, the thing with St
He's going to
Calvados,
go off in front, isn't he?
he's going off in front, and he's going to be going, for me, the wrong way at the finish.
Yeah.
Whereas God's Own, I'm looking for the value.
Okay, interesting take. God's Own to start the hill and get a place.
I think we all fancy Altior, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. Well, you can guarantee a winning Cheltenham Festival, can't you? Just back Altior at 4 to 11. Take the percentages.
And he's
you have a
down
winning-
at the first.
Oh,
Here
Altior.
comes God's Own.
Altior 4 to 11s will win it, but interesting thought. Andrew Thornton puts up God's Own 40 to 1 each way for the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Rest of day 2 very quickly. Dean, we've got the cross country, the bumper, a couple of handicaps. Anything in those 4 races that catches your eye or not?
Well, I was watching the Grand National weights that you did, Matt, and
Thank you.
Patrick Mullins seemed
You had a
very
viewer.
keen on that. Yeah, I was the one. Patrick Mullins seemed very keen on Blue Sari, didn't he, for
Yeah.
the bumper?
Yeah.
So that and a
Bumpers are
couple
weird
of the
races,
guys in the
no
office
Mullins
like
in them.
early doors in the Coral Cup.
Okay, Blue Sari for the bumper.
Blue Sari's been purchased by JP, I
JP,
believe.
yeah, I think.
Yes, so
JP and Tabor with 2 of the top 4 in the market, haven't you? With that meticulous being a Tabor.
4 to 1 Blue Sari currently with Bet Victor.
big fan of getting the queue of Noel Feely's.
Genuinely think the favourite
Harry
will be really
Fries.
hard to beat. I think this is raced to look at the obvious.
Yeah.
And Envoy Allen has done nothing wrong. And the great thing about him is he looks like a horse. What was it? Malone Road at the
Malone
start
Road,
of the
the other one,
season
yeah.
just looked an absolute different gravy to everything you'd seen. And you just thought, hold on, I've seen the bumper winner there. Nothing's going to get near that. But Envoy Allen was a different type. He looked like a sort of chaser in the making. But what he brings to the table is he keeps winning and he really battles and he's tough. And when Cod gets the whip out on that, it will absolutely love it.
Okay, so Envoy Allen for Matt at 7 to 2 for the bumper. Blue Sari for Dean at 4 to 1. Get in the queue for Andrew at 6 to 1. That wraps up. Finally, very quickly, the cross country Tiger Roll wins. Even money.
Could you
Davey
back
Roll.
him
I
at even
wouldn't want
money?
to back it even money, but should win.
No. I mean, there'll be a big chair. He's got a big fan club, Grand National win. I thought if Michael Scudamore ran Mystery, I mean, he's got about £15 to fine with Tiger Roll, but it stays all day, and it ran best race for a long time last time when finishing second Mystery. I just thought, as an each-way horse,
Hard to come back off that hard race into a race like this, for me. Ultra Gold, I think, has got a very, very good chance in this.
10 to 1.
you
Collins
give up on
hard.
T for 2? Grade 1 winner?
No, Ultra Gold. He's won around the Aintree fences. Apparently, he sculled very well around here the other morning, and he's one up there. Bearing in mind, this is no handicap; it's level weights,
Yep.
and he's got a mark of I think it's 149, which 149 he handles it. He's 11 years old, and he'll have a decent chance because often a race like this, it is over that extended 3 miles, 7.5. But it's you don't have to be what you call an out-and-out stayer to win it.
It's just funny on that. It's funny, isn't it, mentality? Because our mentality is we don't really want to back Tiger Roll at evens. But if you just look at the mathematics of it, he's just as likely to win that as Benny de Dieu is to win the Mayor's Hurdle, on paper. And remember, you don't really get that many fallers around the crossing. People think it's a crazy race, but it's not really, because they kind of just walk round. It's almost like schooling round as far as I can see most of it. They only race over the final 2 or 3, don't they? I mean, it's just a case of pottering round, and then you jump all the funny obstacles, have a bit of fun, and then you actually go for it throughout if you're still in contention. Is that roughly how it
So
works?
if you could only back one of them at even money, Benny de Dieu or Tiger Roll.
Well, Sir Eric's about the same price as well, isn't
I
it?
love
That's
Sir
right.
Eric.
There we go. That's the cross country. That wraps up day 2. To remind you again of the free bet offer with Bet Victor. If you place a £5 bet on a new account, you get a free bet for every other race of the Cheltenham Festival. That's a £1 free bet for every race, and also a £10 casino bonus as well with Bet Victor. That wraps up day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival 2019.
We've got a great offer for new customers this year at Cheltenham. If you bet a fiver on any sport or race, you will get a £1 bet in every single race of the festival. It gives you 28 chances to win a few pounds during the festival. It gives you an interest from the first race to the last. I'm really looking forward to this year's festival. Talking of the runners this year, our worst liability anti-post, which I was asked to mention, is Tiger Roll. He was 9 to 2 when we priced the cross-country race up earlier last year. I think it was in November last year. Backed all the way in to even money now. Won the Grand National last year and won at the festival last year. Stalwart, going to be very hard to beat for Gordon Elliott at even money. My nap of the week, Defi Desai in the JLT for Philip Hobbs. This horse was a very good hurdler, 157 rated hurdler. He won the Triumph Hurdle, looked like it was going to be a superstar and potentially a champion hurdle contender. Didn't make it over hurdles the next year, but it's had a break. It's come back over fences this year, and it's really found its feet. It was disappointing first time out. Found its feet at Exeter, a very strong piece of form. Time after, it's run at Cheltenham, so it's experience of the course. Should have won. Barry Geraghty probably went to the front a bit too soon, and it was giving weight to Lost in Translation. But the time after that, it ran at Sandown. Barry held on to it, produced it late, and it won well from Lost in Translation off the same weight. So I think it will confirm the form with Lost in Translation, and outside of those two, it's a fairly weak race. I fancy Defi de Sol strongly. Strong pace in the race will suit. Barry to come late, 100 yards from the line, take it up. Away you go, Barry. Other things to mention, a horse called Measure My Dreams that's come in for an immense amount of money in the Kim Muir just recently. This is Gordon Elliott's horse. It used to be with Noel Mead. It's been transferred to Gordon. Clearly teed up for this race. It's had one quiet run this year, and it's off a good mark. Jamie Codd rides this, very important. Jamie Codd, known as the Codfather in the weighing room. He's one of the best, or probably the best amateur jockey currently riding. Very important in a race like this because a lot of the amateurs haven't got the skill of people like Jamie Codd. It's now 5-1 favourite. Was 33s when we priced the race up. That'll be a bad result for Bet Victor, I can assure you. And other horses we're worried about, well, on its own, Altior wouldn't seem to be a worry at 4-11, but looks at banker. Benny Deju in the Mare's Hurdle, even money. Willie Mullins, banker of the week, and Ruby Walsh has been spinning it up on all the Cheltenham previews as his best rider of the week. That's currently evens. Sir Eric, that's been back from 10-1, I believe, or 12-1. Anti-post, now evens for the Triumph Hurdle, a quality flat horse, hasn't got much to beat. We think that will probably take a lot of beat. And then obviously Tiger Roll that I just mentioned for the cross country. 9-1 the accumulator. Well, you know, hopefully they don't all win for us as bookmakers, but if they do for the punters, we will have a very bad week, and that's often happened at Cheltenham. But anyway, good luck whatever you're backing, and don't forget, take advantage of that offer. Bet £5, get £1 in every race, and interest from the first race to the last.
Day 3 then of the Cheltenham Festival. Let's start off at the JLT Novices Chase over the intermediate distance of 2.5 miles. We're going to come to Dean Goddard first of all. We've got Lost in Translation at 3-1. Defi de Soil, I thought might have gone for the Arkle with Larichberg missing it, but they're going for this longer race instead.
That looks the way. I mean,
Probably.
If you look at, I mean, even though we're, a week away, less than a week away, you still look at the front 10 in the market. Most of them aren't going to run in this race. Glenn Forster's still in the betting, top of the game. Delta Work, Kalashnikov, Hardline, Paloma Blue. All of them probably going to go for other races. Yeah. Pretty much leaves four contenders from what you're looking at the betting in front of you at the moment. Kildisar, I can't have. This has got a bit to find on official ratings. I mean, Defi de Sol's like 151, Kildisar's 141. Can't have that. Real Steel fell on debut, hasn't done anything really, hasn't beat anything to get me excited. I think it's out of the front two. There's nothing original in that, Defi de Sol or Lost in Translation. I'm a big fan of Lost in Translation. I think you get some trainers who talk up all their horses. Tizard doesn't come across to me as one of them. When he mentions this could be my Gold Cup horse for next year, you can tell the regard he holds.
When he said that, I thought he's going to go to the Priory for a week.
Did you?
I mean, there's no one in the world who thinks this is a Gold Cup horse. Lost in Translation.
I hope this wins next year.
Wouldn't it be good if it won the Gold Cup? Hey?
Matt's not
I
convinced.
think he jumps.
You think it's going to win a Gold Cup?
Well, no, we're not necessarily. He's saying it could be his Gold Cup.
It'll be a
horse, as in
Hennessy. He'll run in the.
I mean, a horse has only won one of his
in the
last
old
5
Hennessy.
races. Is now a Gold Cup horse.
What was he? 7th of the Supreme Novices, wasn't he, last year? But he's always looked a chaser, isn't he? But you're with him at 3s.
Remember, he got beat a length and a half by Le Bagoir, giving £7 earlier in the season.
No one in the world thinks Le Bagoir's a Gold Cup horse.
No. Getting away from the fact that whether he's right that
I
it's
think
a
we
Gold
should get
Cup
away from that
horse or
statement,
not.
you know.
The fact that he even rates it anywhere near that, I think is well good enough to be winning a JLT. Where if you're looking at,
I think that's
the
fair.
the third in really is Real Steel, and then you're like Kildisar, you know. So it looks a match. They've beat each other, you know, one time each, haven't they? Defi de Sol and Lost in Translation. For me, it's Lost in Translation.
Okay.
Always makes me laugh on panels. And Dino does know what he's talking about. Always makes me think of panels with Tony Mullins, of course, the man who was jocked off Dawn Run. And Tony does a lot of Cheltenham preview nights, but he doesn't know anything about any of the races. Right. And he just, almost every race he says, like, oh, they've all been beating each other up. And it's like the get out phrase. Yeah, they've all met each other. And it just reminded me of that. Anyway, carry on.
Right, you, lost in translation, you're not convinced. You don't sound convinced, Matt.
He's not convinced it's a Gold Cup
Look,
horse.
Lost in Translation can win this race. He knocks at the door. He has won a race, but he doesn't excite me in
Does
any
anything in
way
this race excite
whatsoever.
you? Not really.
No, I mean, look, without doubt, in my mind, the most talented horse in this race is Defi de Soy. I mean, I thought he'd never win another race after his year in the Triumph Hurdle. It was brilliant. And I remember I was in the betting ring for ITV for Defi de Soy. It was our first year on ITV. And you remember that was one of the big punts. Like everyone just thought Defi de Soy will win the Triumph. And it went off a slightly bigger price than people thought on the day. Something like 11-4 if I remember rightly. And he just knew he was going to win all the way round, and you thought, hold on, this is a champion hurdle horse. Anyway, the wheels fell off, and Hobbsy's wheels fell off, and you just thought Hobbsy will never have a winner again, and Defi de Soy will never win again. And he's come back. He's clearly a tricky ride because he seems to need to be delivered late. But I was asking Barry about that the other day. I was saying, when you ride in a Cheltenham, Andrew can talk about this, but when you ride in a Cheltenham Festival race on a horse that has to be strangled, basically it's a Clan des Obeaux, does that make it more difficult? And Barry kind of basically said, no, not really. And if you're going to ride a horse like that...
Easier.
Yeah.
Easier.
If you're going to ride a horse like that, a festival race is almost the one to do it because there should be a good pace.
Guaranteed the pace.
So just on ability, I think Defi de Soy is the best horse in this race at a bigger price. And I don't know whether it will run in this, but I do think Rich Ritchie thinks Camellia de Cotte is one of his that could run well at biggish prices.
14-1.
So if it did go in here, I would back Defi de Soy, but I'd just have a little saver on Camellia de Cotte at a big price.
Okay.
Interesting.
Camellia de Cotte 14-1 with Bet Victor, maybe at a price as a saver for Matt, but he does like Defi de Soy, that Cheltenham form again that we talked about earlier on. Andrew, are you with one of those big two, or are you looking further down the list?
This gets to the classic case of one of those races which, wasn't here 10 years ago. You'd had Defi de Soy in the Arkle, and you'd had Lost in Translation in the RSA. I think they're going for the right race with Defi de Soy because I'm a big fan. Because the pace of the race will be run completely different to the Arkle. We've talked about the Arkle, flat out from the word go. You've got all those front runners in there. Race like this, completely different. They warm into it, and I think Defi de Soy is one of those horses that likes to warm into the races. Just quietly pop away, warm the jumping up. From the Arkle point of view, I'm completely certain that Philip Hobbs has always been... Other people have been saying Arkle because of what's been dropping out. But this horse likes to warm up into the race. Absolutely perfect. And one thing's for sure, this horse won't be jumping to the front 2 out like it did at Cheltenham when Lost in Translation came back. Because Defi de Soy went past Lost in Translation like he was stood still. And then he's hit the front, idled a little bit, and Robbie Power's been able to gather Lost in Translation up and get back. Won't be in front till halfway up the running. Similar to Sandown last time out, and arguably Barry's probably thinking, do you know, he was up sides at the last and the second last, and I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there because the horse just doesn't do an awful lot when it hits the front. And I think the fact that this horse he's come back after a disappointing season with Philip Hobbs, who Matt said the horse was just completely out of form. They're healthy, they're well. You know the horse likes Cheltenham, and every drop at rain that falls will suit. For me, we'll have too many gears.
Okay. Defi de Soy for Andrew Thornton in at 3-1. And Matt's also liking Defi, but a word for Camellia de Cotte. And Dean, you're with Lost in Translation. Next year's Gold Cup winner, you think?
Yeah.
No.
Would you get on now for the Gold Cup?
3-1 though. He's getting on for the...
He changed his tune, doesn't he? The whole basis of the argument was on the Gold Cup, and now it's like, would you get on? No.
The old Hennessy.
Don't put me in the
could win
Priory.
the old Hennessy, and then we'll see after that.
Did I ever say Lost in Translation would win a Gold Cup?
I don't know, I'd have to watch it back to see exactly.
Please
Certainly there was a strong hint, certainly a strong hint.
Will you watch it back?
Of course. 3-1, Lost in Translation.
Really good.
That's the JLT. Should we talk about the Ryanair, of course? Quite an established race now. Began in 2005, of course, but it's kind of found its place at the festival. Again, you've got these horses that might not run in the race, might have gone for the Queen Mother Champion Chase instead of the likes of Footpad and Min. Monolith, I think, is going to run, isn't it, Matt, in the race? Is he good enough to win this race, Monolith?
It's tricky, isn't he? Because he is a Grade 1 winner, but he sort of knocks at the door a lot in these bigger races. My feeling is if the ground is good to soft or good, I think Monolith is going to take a bit of beating. If the ground was a lot more testing, then I wouldn't still give up on Underso rolling back the years, because however way you look at it, he ran okay against Altior. I mean, some people say he ran really well against Altior. It showed there's still an engine in there. And in testing conditions, he is a very talented horse. Now, he may be a bit old now, and maybe his best years are behind him. But when you look at the opposition, it's not amazing.
No.
So
It's very competitive, though.
yeah,
Very competitive.
How many of these would give Altior a race? And that is what Underso did. So, as I say, in testing conditions, I'm an Underso man. In less testing conditions, I would stick with Monolly.
He ran a blinding race Underso at Sandown when he got beaten by Altior.
Yeah.
Good run that one.
Can't knock that. The fact he hasn't run since is purely and simply because of the ground.
I think if it's heavy or if it came up
it's
really
soft,
soft, I think Walsh
even
would be
good-
on that
Yeah.
rather than footpad. I wouldn't touch footpad if I was Ruby
footpad.
Walsh.
He'll be riding footpad.
Well, he's lost.
Ruby
He's-
will be
he's
riding
mad
footpad.
then. He's mad, Ruby Walsh. He's mad if he's riding
It's happened to footpad this year, Andrew. Obviously, he was a brilliant novice last year. Won that arc.
Wasn't right first time out. His jumping just completely
He
was.
did come and beat him in that race. It was strange. He looked like he was home and hose, didn't he, when he jumped the last?
He looked home and horse. I think the ground. He
Word
wants-
from then
he
is that he
wants
suffered
cut.
an overreach.
But he also wants
That's what
cut.
they've said.
When he got beaten by Simply Ned, the ground was, we've said it all year, it was on the good side. This horse, you go back through his form, he was winning 2.5 mile races at Auteuil 4 years ago. And there were 2.5 mile races then. I think people have been lulled into the fact that thinking he's a quick horse. He's not that quick. The fact of what happened at Cheltenham last year when they went, as you said, 1,000,000 miles an hour and they front two walked.
I think people have been lulled into thinking he's a good horse.
Yeah, but he looked quick. He's not. He's just a galloper. He needs slow conditions. He'd be suited where he'll be able to follow the pace. I think they're going to run Frodon in this race. I think
Matt thinks he should run
That's all.
Frodon.
I think they're going to run Frodon in here.
It's to be champion.
You got to remember, Paul Nicholls' horses coming into this festival are on fire. Frodon in here, his ratings are sky high. Paul, I think you've talked him into running in this race, and I've got to say,
I don't think I have.
I
I don't think
think
Paul Nicholls would do anything I say. Andrew.
think-
I don't think any trainer would.
I think Paul Nicholls has thought, well, if something had happened to the front few in the market, as a Clanders-Ober, if Clanders-Ober hadn't made it to the Gold Cup, I think you'd see Frodon going down that route. If Presenting Percy for some reason hadn't turned, I think you'd see him going down that route. I think Frodon, and the way Bryony rides him out the gate, he's uncomplicated. You got Underso. I love the horse. I'd love to see him go and win. He got beaten last year in the race when I thought he maybe even should have had more use made of him last year. But Frodon for me, out the gate, jumps, likes the track. I think he ticks the boxes over 2.5
I
miles.
don't think he'll get the easy lead that he's
He's
had.
had some tough
Does he
races
have
as
to
well,
have an
hasn't he?
easy lead?
Yes.
Some tough races this
6
season.
to 1 Frodon. He's going to be Andrew's fancy.
I'm going to stick my neck out and go for Frodon. And the reason as well.
Not exactly sticking your neck
I am
out,
sticking
are you?
my neck out.
The third favourite. Well done.
Well, the thing is, there's probably only going to be about 10 runners.
Honestly, that is like a sort of
It's going to be
dinosaur neck, your
it's
giraffe
gonna-
you've got
it's-
on you there.
It's
The
going to
third
be
favourite, wow.
4-1 the field.
Crikey, your
Is it
neck.
not?
You stuck your neck out. Well done.
Andrew,
Frodon.
6 to 1
Frodon.
Frodon for Andrew. We'll let those two
Crikey.
carry on. Have their own
We'll
little
be going for
argument.
Sir Eric in the tram. I tell you what, I'm going to take.
Unlike you.
I'll take a chance here, Sir Eric.
How'd you put up with
Dean,
it?
bring some sensibility back to the conversation. What do you like in this Ryanair?
Worryingly, I'm
Brave,
going to agree with Matt. Monolly.
Monolly,
For
yeah.
us, yeah. I think this
4-1.
trip is exactly what he wants. You can't say that he doesn't stay 3 miles because he's been second in an Albert Bartlett, second in an RSA. But I think he's better over this sort of trip. His form figures over fences, 2 mile 4, 2 mile 5, first, third, first. His only defeat was on his seasonal debut. He's beat Alboon Photo in a Grade 1. That's a lively outsider of sorts in the Gold Cup. I think this is his trip and he's the most likely winner.
Okay, Monolly then is Dean's fancy at 4 to 1 currently with Bet Victor. Footpad the favourite.
Rachel
around 3
Blackmore will ride her? Him?
Monolly, she rode him when she won at Goran, didn't
Yeah.
she?
Yeah.
Do you think
she-
Noel
Rob,
Feely
she
will
know.
get back on?
Yeah, I think
Interesting. Anyway, I interrupted you there, Enzo,
That's
just
fine.
as you were wrapping up.
I was kind of going to wrap up, and that's an interesting point. I mean, what a season she's had, hasn't she, Rachel Blackmore? Extraordinary how she's.
You know what? I think there's so many similarities between her and Bryony Frost, although obviously she's had a lot more winners than Bryony Frost. But the biggest similarity is, for whatever reason, these two girls can get horses to jump. They just seem to love jumping for them. And it is jumps racing. And if you can get a horse to jump fluently, however strong you are in the finish and all that kind of stuff, you nick lengths in the country. And if you nick lengths, you win races.
Natural horse people, though. They just let the horses jump out their stride, don't complicate it. That's what us jockeys try. That's what us jockeys do. We complicate the issue.
Do you think you had that natural bond?
I used to love bounce out going forward. The whole thing is you'll see the likes of Bryony, Rachel Blackmore. They just let the horse go whatever pace it wants to go. Whether it's if they're flat out, they'll drop in halfway, but from the front they just get on with it.
They ride them like Mark Johnston runs his flat horses.
Keep it simple.
Okay. Good word then for Monolith from
You're
Matt.
going to use that on 5 Live, aren't you? Next thing I can see you're going to use that.
If we hear that on the radio when I'm driving next week, I'll know where you got that from.
Yeah.
So Matt says Monolith 4-1, but if it's heavy or soft, under so at 5s. That's right, isn't it? If it gets
He's
really
sticking
soft.
his neck on the line with under sort of 5s.
You'll go with throw. You're sticking your neck out with throws on at 6s.
Yeah.
And Dean's winding his neck in with Monolith.
4-1.
That's the panel's thoughts on the Ryanair.
They're going to be 4-1 co-favourites here in the jump off.
That's the Ryanair thoughts wrapped up. Let's now talk about the Stayers Hurdle. Let's start with Dean this time. Obviously, this hot favourite, isn't it? Paisley Park. It's a great story, isn't it? Of course, the owner who's blind from birth.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a great opportunity for him to have a Cheltenham winner. This horse does look the part, didn't he? I mean, that Cheltenham win last time, that's the best piece of form by a mile, isn't it?
Well, every English contender was in that race.
Yeah.
So if he's going to get beat, he's going to get beat by something from over the sea. I was at Emma's before the season started, and the way she spoke about Paisley Park, I doubt she thought that it would reach these dizzy heights, but you could tell she thought the horse was an absolute machine. My only worry with Paisley Park is 9 of the last 10 winners of the Stayers had 3 runs or less, and all of them came into the season November or later. Now, Paisley Park was on the go from October. It's had the 4 runs. When she brought it in, obviously I don't train horses, but I doubt she was imagining we're going to be hot favourite for the Stayers Hurdle, even though she rated it highly. If it can produce that run that it produced at Cheltenham last time, it should win. And if you look at the rest of the runners, there's no strength in depth. I mean, Matt's a massive Forheen fan. We know that. Super Sunday, is that going to go for this race, or will it go? I suppose that depends on the ground. If it's soft on day one, would they run Super Sunday in the Champion, most likely? The race is really cut up. If Paisley Park can produce that performance of last time, shouldn't really have a lot of trouble winning it, unless Forheen can roll back the years. But
Okay.
Matt will tell us about that.
I mean, I think Paisley Park, you'd struggle to think any hurdler in this side of the water can beat Paisley Park now. I mean, and the other thing about him is, for me, he has the perfect running style for a Stayers Hurdle, in that you can just about do whatever you like with him. There was a time when he looked like he would win races by narrow margins, but he completely dispelled that last time. He ran right to the line, pulled away. The only thing I would say is I don't think, or put it like this, a month and a half, 2 months ago, the Stayers Hurdle division looked desperate until Paisley Park came along. So what that tells you is I don't think Paisley Park's beating great horses. And in Faheen, he does meet a great horse. Now, you can argue till the cows come home whether Faheen at the age of 11 is still going to be good enough. But you can also deal in a few facts. There was a little bit about a sort of footpad about it in the Arco. It did look like all the other jockeys are back Faheen in the Stayers Hurdle at Punchestown. However, he did smash up the Stayers Hurdle winner Penhill.
Oh, yeah.
He did beat him, and Penhill had just won at Cheltenham. That still happened. And while I got a lot of abuse on social media for suggesting it, Ruby Walsh is of the same opinion. Rich Ritchie is of the same opinion. I haven't actually asked Willie Mullins yet. And I think Patrick Mullins is of the same opinion, that if Faheen hadn't fallen behind Apple's Jade, he was going better than her at the time. And Ruby Walsh had just looked round because he was confident he had her covered. He might have done better to look at the hurdle actually in front rather than look round. But anyway, that's another matter. When you add all that up, there's quite a lot of evidence that suggests Faheen still has an engine. Now, you can, of course, look back when he was beaten by Sharjah early in the season and he was punted off the boards and Sharjah beat him. But there's still evidence there to suggest that Faheen has an engine. And Paisley Park has never met a horse like Faheen. Like, if he's on song, the pace and the way he jumps halfway round. I'm not talking about the end of the race, like halfway round, that middle pace is something Paisley Park will have never experienced. And he was a little bit on and off the bridle, Paisley Park.
Yeah, he does that, doesn't he?
If Faheen can get him at it in the country, I don't think Paisley Park has the class to beat Faheen, because Faheen, for me, is one of the greatest horses I've ever seen. So I'm obviously going with Faheen. Yes, there's a lot of heart involved, and I might look an absolute idiot, and by the end of the race, Faheen may be retired. But there's enough evidence in there for me to still suggest that he might just have class, that edge on class.
Okay, so one final hurrah then for Faheen for Matt at 4-1. The former champion hurdler, of course, he's the class horse in the race, isn't he? But obviously, can he win it at the age of 11, Andrew Thornton?
Well, I wouldn't even put age as a question mark. The thing is, if he got over the second last behind Apple's Jade, and even if he'd been beaten two or three,
been beaten far, because Ruby was still like that.
Even if he'd been beaten 2 or 3 lengths or he'd be half the price, and then you wouldn't even you wouldn't even have a question mark over it. The question mark is because he fell last time out. So the one thing he does have in the book is the horse loves Cheltenham. You know, he ran in the champion hurdle last year. Arguably, it just wasn't the right race for him, because what we saw after
He hasn't got that speed anymore, is he, to
No,
compete
but
with the best 2 miles?
that was the thing, but he maybe should have gone for the stayers the last year. But why didn't he go for the stayers? Because Penhill was in there. Yeah?
Yep.
So he's a big price and he's a big player. My suspect form with Paisley Park, yes, he looked very impressive last time out, and he does have the profile of an English Dreamer, a Barracuda, that he comes off the bridle a bit coming down the hill. He does have that profile. But, as you said, what has he actually beaten so far? For me, he's too short at the prices. I'm with you, I'm with Faheen. Looking for a big price each way, the horse that's coming back over hurdles after getting beaten in a Grade 1 last year at Punchestown and won here at the Cheltenham Festival, Brecon Storm. The Tizzards are coming back over hurdles for the stayers. If you're an each-way punter and you want something outside the front few, I would look no further than him. They're shrewd cookies. Didn't really work out for him over fences. Come back over hurdles, won the Albert Bartlett, second beaten 2 next at Punchestown. And they know how to get horses, especially for these staying races. They specialise in stayers.
Okay. Just Sam Winner. It's Sam Winner, isn't it? Not Sam Spinner.
Spinner.
I always get confused. Sam Winner, of course, was Paul Nicholls' thing. Yeah. Sam Spinner. Joe Colliver rides that. I like the story of the trainer and jockey staying together, but this is top level sport, and Sam Spinner,
Favourite last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's owned by the Chapmans, although no relations. But if Richard Johnson was free in this race, he's the champion jockey. He's available. I would put Richard Johnson on Sam Spinner. I think that horse is just gagging for a champion jockey's ride. And Joe Colliver, he's had amazing times with the horse. It's all the fairy tale stuff. But in sport, there comes a time, I think, when if a champion of your sport is available and has the riding style that suits that horse, personally, I think loyalty has to go out the window at some stage. Yeah. You don't get loyalty in Premier League football. You don't get loyalty in the World Cup. The manager puts out the best chance of trying to win that race. And whether you've been in all the build-up games and someone's been injured, but the person injured comes back for the final and is a better player, you're out and that guy goes in. Yeah. And much that I love Joe Colliver, and he's a talented jockey and he's going to win races, I think it's time for that horse just to have like one of the real top-level boys on it, just to see what they could do on him.
He's 33 to 1, isn't he?
I know it's harsh. No one else will say it, because it's not the kind of thing people like to hear, but that's what I would...
He's 30 points bigger than he was last year, Sam Spinner.
And he was back to some sort of form last time. He wasn't disgraced at all. And to be fair to Joe, we've always said give him an aggressive ride, and he really did give him an aggressive ride last time. Went off the clappers with Little Rockefeller. Look, maybe he's just not quite good enough, but...
Okay. He's one of the prize, but you're sticking with Faheen at 4s. Andrew, you are...
I'm a Faheen fan.
Well,
I am a Faheen fan.
Paisley Park, despite she's not in a Cheltenham winner for 9 years, Emma Lavelle. Does that matter?
No. It doesn't, does it?
Am I right in saying Aidan Coleman's going for his first Cheltenham winner?
It's unbelievable that he hadn't ridden a Grade 1 winner since this horse came around.
So he's been the sort of top 5 or 6 every
What the hell
season.
has he been doing?
I just think the race is
Fair
just
bit of pressure.
completely cut up. So we will go with Paisley Park.
Okay.
Well, we
More
often-
from that.
We
13th
do often
place
say about
rated.
this, we're looking for another hurdler to come through. Your big books dominated it, your
Yeah.
English
It's
Treevers
weakest division,
dominated
isn't
it.
it?
But
You
Cheltenham,
might often say that it is often the weaker division because everybody wants to go for the Gold Cup. Everybody wants the chasers. But as you saw, big books didn't jump fences. Kilbrick and Storm hasn't taken to it. Paisley Park's the one who, will he go chasing if he does win a stairs hurdle?
I'm slightly biased because obviously people will say that I work for the sponsor of this race, but Cheltenham want the Ryanair to be considered on an equal with the stairs hurdle on this day. And personally, I think it's absolutely crazy. And there's absolutely no doubt this time around the stairs hurdle is I mean, it might not have massive strength in depth, but it's a fascinating contest with Paisley Park having come through the ranks, Fahim rolling back the years, and one or two other like the Sam in there as well.
Well,
You know,
Super
there's
Sunday.
no, there's
Super
no way
Sunday-
that this isn't the big race on this day.
But Super Sunday only got beaten, what, half a length to Penhill last year?
Yeah.
It's a really,
The ground was soft.
it's a good renewal now. 2 months ago, it was a terrible renewal. I was writing it off saying, like, who cares? But now, Paisley Park could be anything. Fahim could roll. I mean, there's a lot of emotion in this race now. Emma Lavelle.
If it was good to soft, and if Super Sunday run in this, I think it's got to be a knock each way.
Really?
6 to 1. It's a bit of victory.
It's only got beat by Penhill last year in soft ground. That stretches it probably over the 3 mile. Good to soft. I mean, we don't know what the going's going to be. The race, there's got nothing in it, Matt. Once you go past the front three, there's
Struggling,
nothing in
aren't
it.
you? Yeah. I know Andrew's mentioned Kilbrick and Storm, hasn't he, though?
Anytime you like a Super Sunday, Enzo, is in the ice cream parlour, isn't it?
Or I'll have an extra large Super Sunday if you're offering. That wraps up, I think, the Sun Racing Stayers Hurdle D with Paisley Park at 13 to 8. Fahim for Mad at 4 to 1, but a mention for Sam Spinner at 33s. Andrew with Fahim at 4s, but a mention for Kilbrick and Storm at 12s as well. Should we just wrap up the third day? Mayor's Novice Hurdle, is this epatante Andrew Thornton a good thing? Nicky Henderson?
So whether it was by accident or design, I don't know, but she won 2 Class 4s, which means she only carries 11.2. Posh Trish and some of the likes carry 11.7. So she carries the lowest, she gets an extra £5 off some of the other horses in here. Because Kempton was a Class 4, Exeter was a Class 4, Class 3, and if you Class 3 and Class 2 races, you get penalties. She doesn't. Nicky Henderson, this is probably his, but outside of Altior,
7-4 she is.
they think that she is a very, very good.
She looked good, didn't she, at Exeter, Dean and Kempton? I mean, she hasn't beaten anything, but she's
Yeah.
done it on the snap, hasn't she, both
Oh,
times?
she looked very impressive, yeah.
You look through her form as well with her French form. You go through all the form. She finished second on her first start. The rest of her form, won easily, eased down, travels strongly. It just, she could be just in a different parish to the rest of these.
Matt, epatante, you seen her run at Exeter?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tip up Honeysuckle in that race, but, you know, it's not a race I've got a massive opinion on. I mean, they keep winning both of those two horses. You know, it's kind of guessing which one's better than the other. At this stage, the race will tell us, although I know I appreciate you. It would be nice to know beforehand.
But Barry Geraghty did 10.5 on her first start. What does that tell you?
That he can do 10.5.
The last time he did 10.5 this year.
Well, that's what professional jockeys do when they have big race mounts. Just in the Kim Muir,
Yes.
there's a horse called Live, Love, Laugh, another Ritchie horse. I don't know, it's got loads of entries. I think it's got about 6 entries, Live, Love, Laugh. But again, I believe that horse, wherever it runs, will be a big price. And I have a feeling it might just be worth a second look.
Okay, that's the Kim Muir. Anything else? Wrap up the...
Yeah, we got one in the Kim Muir.
Go on.
When we went to Emma's earlier in the season, we asked for a horse to follow. She gave us Darasha Counter.
14 to 1 now.
They tried to give Now McGinty £6 at Chepstow in January. Finished second at that. Now he gets £5. So there's a big turnaround there. Now McGinty obviously come out, finished second in the Reynoldstown. Looks like it's got a nice little weight. Yeah, so look out for that one. Darasha Counter in the Kim Muir.
Okay, 14 to 1 with Bet Victor. A word there from Dean as well. Andrew, anything else for those other races?
Well, he's probably going to start favourite, but it'll be shorter than he is now. Sir de Burley and the Potemps snuck into 6th place to get qualified last time out, and is owned by JP. Will take an awful lot of beating
Yeah,
the
I've heard
Potemps.
this mentioned
Look,
a few times.
Side de Burley, yeah?
Well, I don't know what price he is at the moment. He'll be favourite, but he'll be shorter on
You know, the fascinating thing about Sada Bella, it's a McManus horse, yeah, who was on board it in that race? Davy Russell.
He
Like,
did.
all the McManus jockeys say, I'm not going near Sire de Burley. And then you have a look at the in-running comment.
Look, he
for
was on the
Sire de Burley.
inside and he had nowhere to go, Matt.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is
Matt,
held
he was
up
on the
towards
inside,
rear,
nowhere to
pushed
go.
along, headway from 2 out, ran on
How's
into
it go?
never threatening 6.
How's it go?
Little push, little nudge here. And there's, in the background, there's Barry and there's Mark Walsh saying, go on, Davey, just like niggle it into 6th.
You have to finish in the first 6 to get qualified for
Qualified.
Potemkin
Cleverly
races.
placed him.
I mean, but again, doesn't that prove what a jockey Davy Russell is? You have to be in the first 6.
And he finished sixth.
Finishes 6th.
Perfect.
Never placed a challenge. It was one of the most brilliant piece of jockeyship you'll ever see.
So 6 to 1 then. It could be a price then, Sire de Burley, is it?
He could be, but I actually fancy another one in that
Or
race.
what do you fancy in that?
Well, I fancy the finish. Sometimes, you can go with the horses that, are the eye catchers, and Sire de Burley obviously was an eye catcher in the race, but Mistocalous, or whatever it's called, Mistocalous, it's about 14 to 1, I imagine. Joseph O'Brien,
Yeah.
who was 3rd in that race, I think has got a great each-way chance. I'll try and find the name of the thing, because it's just escaped me. The name escapes me, that runs off.
That's not running, is it? The name escapes me. It's got ruled out. It's one of several that are going to miss the meeting.
Hold on, let me just get this name, Enzo. Thermosticles.
They're not Thermostocles.
Thermostocles.
Demostocles, yeah, 12 to 1. Been
Yeah.
back from 20s with Bet
Yeah,
Victor.
that was 3rd in that race, and it's obviously slightly, it slightly showed its cards a bit more than Sire de Burley. But actually, sometimes you can look for all these sort of crazy horses that seem to be buried and come through, but sometimes.
In the old days of the Potemps, there was always the old saying, I know I can beat the ones in front of me, but I'm not sure about the ones behind.
So there we go. That's the Potemps.
In the old days, we're going back a long, long way.
Demostocles, going to mention by Matt at 12 to 1. Sire de Burley's a 6 to 1 shot for that as well. And Dean gave a mention to one as well in the other race, isn't it, as well? The
Rasher Counter.
The Rasher Counter in the...
You've forgotten already?
I've forgotten already, I didn't write that one down. But the Rasher Counter, 14 to 1 as well, is a Dean Goddard fancy from his Emma Lavelle stable visit from earlier in the season. That wraps up then day 3, the Thursday of the Cheltenham Festival. Just before we start day 4 with my expert panel here, I'd like to just remind you of the special bet with Bet Victor in terms of champion trainer for the Cheltenham Festival. An exclusive offer for My Racing new customers. They can get 30 to 1, yes, 30 to 1 for either Gordon Elliott, Willie Mullins or Nicky Henderson to be top trainer at this year's Cheltenham Festival. Who would you go with, Matt, first of all? Top trainer?
Top trainer at the festival, I will go with Mullins, despite the shorter team. I think I've got 2 in the bag already, for definite, and he will pull something else out of the bag.
Yeah, he normally does, doesn't he? Willie Mullins, who's a big price, isn't he, for the man who's trained so many festival winners. As big as 7 to 2 in places. Andrew, top trainer?
I think the man who's got the most runners, Gordon Elliott's going to have 60-odd runners there. He's, the last 2 seasons, I think he's had 14 winners total at the Cheltenham Festival. Just, he'll be very well represented in the handicaps.
Okay.
This is not going to help anyone. I'm going Henderson.
We've covered it.
Well, when I look at our selections, we've gone for Altior.
You love Santini, don't you?
Santini, I love. Bouvardere. There's the Mayor in the novice. We're with Henderson.
Okay, Nicky Henderson for Dean to be champion. Don't forget, you can get 30 to 1 with that special offer as well for new customers with Bet Victor. Right, let's start day 4 with the Triumph Hurdle.
Who do you think will be top?
Yeah, you can be the deciding factor.
He's going for Nichols.
Look, Paul Nichols, 20 to 1 Paul Nichols in a place. I know he's got to have a really... I like Magic Saint. I think he'll win the Gold Cup with Clanderzobo. He just needs one more.
But there's no point backing him in the offer if you're getting 30 to 1.
Good point. See, that's why you're the intelligence of the team.
Well, we're banging trouble.
The offer, you'd have to go with Elliott.
Cheers, Enzo.
Elliott or Henderson.
Offended by that comment?
If I can get 30 to 1, I suppose Gordon Elliott's a big price, isn't he, at 30 to 1? Andrew thinks he's going to do it. Right, should we move on? Triumph Hurdle, I'll start with Matt. This Sir Eric, another one of these even money shots. Yeah. So impressive, isn't he, so far in Ireland? Classy flat horse as well, wasn't he? Forget what a good horse he was in the flat.
Well, he would be a leading contender for the Ascot Gold Cup, and he might still, funny enough, be a leading contender for the Ascot Gold Cup. If you just go back to Royal Ascot last year, remember, we've lost Big Orange, retired. Order of St George, retired. Vizirabad got injured in the Ascot Gold Cup. So you're left with Stradivarius and not a lot else as far as staying horses are concerned. Now, Sir Eric got within 3 lengths of Stradivarius in the Long Distance Cup. What all that tells you is that...
He's slow.
No, before you even look at these horses, Sir Eric is the best horse. Because there's not None of these national hunt horses could do anything like that on the flat. So quality-wise, this is already the best horse. We know that, and he'll always be the best horse quality-wise, whatever any of the others do. But the only factor we didn't know is could he jump? And what we know is, because he's done it twice, is he can jump really, really well. He looks to me to have quite a high knee action. So despite being an ex-flat horse and obviously able to cope with better ground, a bit of juice isn't going to be a problem at all. He stays really strongly. It's not so important in the Triumph Hurdle. 20 years ago when Andrew was riding, it was really important. You needed to stay strong. The Triumph Hurdle was a completely different type of race to what it is now. But now it's just a juvenile hurdle, effectively, and a fairly normal event. Everything suggests that Sir Eric is just going to completely outclass this lot, and I will be stunned if it doesn't not just win, but I think he'll come there swinging away, laughing at them with that flat class. I think he's an outstanding bet. I think he's an absolute good thing, and there is nothing I would back against him.
There we go. Strong argument then for Sir Eric, and even money with Bet Victor. Andrew, are you on the same lines, or looking for something else?
I think he's versatile, how he can be ridden as well.
No negatives. I can't find the negatives.
If there's no pace on, just mosey away in front and do them for toe. One thing you can guarantee, he will stay all day. He could be one of the most impressive Triumph winners you've seen.
And Andrew, I think that's so important because this is not like a mile or a mile and a quarter horse who's looked like a good flat horse. Like, let's take Alderbrook. Like, back in the day when Alderbrook won the Champion Hurdle in 1995, beat Large Action, you could have argued if he'd made a really bad mistake, you might just be suspect about his stamina, recovering, getting to. But with Sir Eric, because he's got that stamina, I'm not even fussed if he makes the odd little mistake because I know he stays. Like, he's going to do his best work at the end, not at halfway.
When you think that you've got to go back quite a lot of years since, for me, you've seen something this good, you've got to go back to Alderbrook, who won a champion. You've got Royal Gate, who was a very good flat horse. And the thing with these horses have been missing because they've been going to Dubai. You've got to go back to Fred Winter and Foot War when they used to buy this quality of horse to run in these sort of races. Catch It won a Triumph off a mark of about 85. He's going in up here at 109. Now, you can't always translate it, but the appetite that he had for the jumping. He's a full horse.
I was going to say,
he's a full horse.
He's still got all his bits intact.
But if you want to turn that doesn't worry me at all.
He doesn't brush too many.
Somebody said if he landed on one, he'll know about it. You had Midnight Legend, if you want to go back 20 years, who was a very good flat horse from Luca Cumani's to the Dukes.
I think was Alderbrook the last horse to win at the festival with everything still there?
Everything intact.
I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Alderbrook.
Yeah. So from that point of view,
Equine.
it doesn't bother me in the slightest. He's not a Curly type. He could be very impressive. Outside of him, to finish, follow him home, Tiger Tip Tap was
nearly beat him, didn't he, at Leopardstown?
Nearly beat him at Leopardstown. Disappointed last time out. I'll forgive that.
Tiger Tap Tap. I mean, he's 10 to 1, I guess.
I'll forgive that to maybe follow him home. But one thing about Sir Eric, reportedly, JP backed him at double figure prices before he ran first time out. Reportedly.
Right for some, eh?
It might have been a 10 to 1 now.
Some.
If you own horses, you have that privilege.
So Sir Eric, very, very strong votes here. The panel bullish. Dean, are you going to make it a full house?
Yeah, absolutely. All over him. As Matt said, he's the best horse in the race. So then the question mark is, can he jump? We've seen that he can jump. And to add to that, there doesn't even look a lot in opposition that will worry you.
Keldestan, the pick of the Brits.
Well, Keldestan's a bit like Elixir de Nuts. If Keldestan won it, none of us would be sat here in surprise. We'd be disappointed Sir Eric couldn't outclass him. But he's super tough. He jumps well. He responds to the shillelagh. He's tough. He's going to run a race.
Ajali gave Keldestan a real good race at Chepstow.
But the only thing...
And apparently that's done some really good work of late.
I'll give you... On that, after Fusel Raffles won at Kempton, Nicky Henderson was reportedly, openly said, well, I'm pleased I've got a Triumph Hurdle horse now. Mm-hmm. So suddenly Ajali has come into the equation.
Might have had Fusel Raffles all over.
But that's my point. Nicky Henderson said that at least I've got one now, but now this is the super sub that's coming forward because they don't have a Triumph horse.
That Chepstow race where Ajali and Keldestan met, they got into quite a slog over the last 2 or 3, and I was left with the impression that running style suited Keldestan, whereas Ajali might be like Champ, better horse, stronger pace, coming from off the gallop and trying to be delivered late, and a bit like Aramon hopefully in the Supreme as well. That was the only thing I thought why Ajali might be able to reverse the form is that he did.
But why? That's the point. Why is Nicky Henderson said after Fusel Raffles?
Oh, absolutely. Look, none of them are going to be Sir Eric anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But it's conversation.
Sir Eric.
Sir Eric, good
Bang,
thing.
bang, bang.
Barroom talk.
4 votes for even money. Sir Eric, double your money then in the Triumph Hurdle, the first race on day 4. Should we have a look at the Albert Bartlett? It looks a difficult one, doesn't it? 5-1 the field with Bet Victor. But Dean, I understand you fancy one quite strongly in this race.
Yeah. I really, really like Commander of Fleet. Really, I was so impressed. I think we said earlier, sometimes it's not just, you can look at the form on a bit of paper and it's won by a neck or half length, whatever. Sometimes it's what you see with your eyes, and I was so impressed with it when it won at Leopardstown. I thought it really went to the line, dug deep. The further they went, the better it was travelling. This just looks like Albert Bartlett written all over it to me. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's not the easiest race in the world, especially a week ahead. We don't know exactly what's going to go for it, etc. But Commander of Fleet, I couldn't oppose that on the day. Dickie Diver's obviously very, very talented, but
Jumping a worry?
it just still looks a bit green to me. That's probably more the horse for the future, Dickie Diver. I'm not sure it'll be ready in a week's time to win a race of this nature. Commander of Fleet, very, very bullish about it.
7-1 with Bet Victor. Dean's talked me into it. Commander of Fleet. Andrew, will come to you next. Any thoughts on the Albert Bartlett Novice Hurdle, please?
Yeah, I'm with it. He needs to win because I fancy Gordon Elliott for the the champion trainer. Will stay. Just a relentless galloper. Going to be a very open race, this. Very, very open
We've had
race.
3 33-1 winners in the last 9 runnings, so we do get the odd surprise in this race.
It's you need horses to stay exceptionally well. I just worry the likes of Dickie Diver, he's too strong a traveller for my liking in a race like this. When we've seen this race plenty of times before, it's an unsettled forecast. The ground's been opened up. It's on the last day. It's going to be tough, and Nicky Henderson doesn't really have those. That you see the speed and how they travel through the races. These horses, that's going to blunt his speed, in my opinion. Classy horse. Whether it's a case of he's running in this race because he's not going to run for the Ballymore. Nicky Henderson going to have 2 in this race. But for me, Commander of Fleet.
Okay. Gordon Elliott yet to win it though.
Stay up.
Beaten favourite Death Duty a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Worried about that?
Yes.
He wins it this time, says Andrew Thornton. Matt, you've been studying hard this Albert Bartlett. What have you come up with?
Well, Commander of Fleet has definitely got a chance because he was a good bumper horse. I think he was a Punchestown winner, and they ran him over 2 miles, which was slightly weird. It was almost like you think they were trying to get a handicap mark or something. But then when he went up in trip, he won his graded race. The only thing I thought was at the prices, I couldn't quite understand why Rhinestone was so much bigger than Commander of Fleet when there wasn't a lot between them, and I felt that Rhinestone might or could be differently ridden to attack later than he did last time when he was kind of put into the race early and then rallied. So at the prices,
10-1 Rhinestone.
I'd rather, I think, have a little bit each way on Rhinestone than Commander of Fleet, but I wouldn't be surprised.
He's a lot bigger price, isn't he?
Well, he's double price.
Okay, so Matt likes Rhinestone. At a
Double
price.
is consignatory. I'm sticking my neck out there. I'm telling you, in
Commander
your
of Fleet.
language, I'm not only stuck my neck out, I put it over the parapet. Almost got it half chopped off the way you go.
Yeah, you can get a bit of 14s in a place, Rhinestone, but 10-1 with Bet Victor. 7-1, though, the selection for Dean and Andrew. Commander of Fleet for Gordon Elliott to win this race for the first time, the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. Let's move on then, shall we, to my favourite race of the season, the Gold Cup. It looks a fascinating renewal this time around. We'll start with Dean. Obviously presenting Percy. Unusual preparation, no run over fences, although they did turn the fences the other way around for him at Galway to have that. And we've got this Nichols horse, Clanderzobo, who's been improving at a rate of knots this season.
Yeah, Clanderzobo, obviously he is the improver in the race. Impressive in the King George. Can you pick holes in that form?
Yes.
Exactly. If you look at the King George, Thistlecrack in second, 11-year-old now, has had so many problems. Native River in third, we know that's not his track. Politologue in fourth, doesn't stay. Might Bite wasn't right. Bristol de May fell, waiting patiently, unseated.
Brought down. Well,
Whatever.
nearly brought down.
Course form, he's 0 from 4, but you can't say he's run poorly here. He's run some decent races here, but he's still yet to win in 4 tries. I couldn't be with Clanderzobo, especially at the price now. He's about, 7-2, 4-1, something like that. Presenting Percy, he's done nothing wrong. It'd just been nice to have seen him a bit more, wouldn't it? Impressive in the RSA. But the prices, and I mean at the prices, because the race is difficult, it is wide open, we're going to go for Kemboy.
8-1, Bet Victor.
Yeah.
Odds on to fall.
You believe?
Can't have his jumping at all. But if he doesn't fall, he's got a bit of an engine.
So what are you?
Well, no. You have your say, Dean. I don't
No,
want to
that-
interrupt
that-
you, but I just...
What do you like?
My thing with Kemboy would be he's been to Cheltenham Festival twice before and he hasn't really performed round the track. I don't think for me he doesn't handle the undulations. He won at Christmas when there was absolutely no pace on. They dropped him in early doors. Given a very good ride at Christmas when he thought, do you know what, I'll let him slide along in front. Got his own way. Road to Respect got nearly turned over twice. Ground was on the quick side. The fact for me, Kemboy, I have to have a horse who acts round Cheltenham. And for me, Clanderzobo, you've nailed it on the head. 0 from 4 at Cheltenham.
Is he a different proposition now, though? Has he improved?
I just on
last
that
season?
stat, I put that stat up and someone quickly put up that Native River was 0 from 4 from Cheltenham before he won the Gold Cup.
Right.
Just saying
Yeah.
that stats are things you can turn into whatever argument you kind of want, which is what you've just done.
But
Because Kemboy
Native
wasn't
Rubber had run very well at Cheltenham.
Well, so's Clanderzobo if you look at the form. No, he has,
In
honestly.
handicaps.
He has run well, though.
Andrew, you've won a Gold Cup. How hard is it to go back to back for Native River? Is it almost
He's won a
impossible
Gold
to
Cup.
do? Just 21
How hard
years
does it
ago.
go back? It gets to the bottom. It certainly gets to the bottom of horses. Might Bite certainly got hurt in it last year, as in got to the bottom. He got to the bottom of the barrel,
Yeah.
and he
It was
hasn't.
a war, wasn't it, with
He
Native
hasn't-
River last year?
I don't say a war. It was a. There's no Gold Cup is easy. It's a thorough test of stamina, and not a Might Bite.
Surely that
ran
Cool
out
Dawn Gold
ran
Cup-
out of stamina.
Cool Dawn Gold Cup must have been easy. How did Cool Dawn?
Promise you beat, didn't he? That was
I
Strong
know,
Promise
man.
second.
Doran's Pride third.
Owen's Pride third.
Yeah. But again, that comes back to he wasn't the best horse in training, but he was the best horse on the day.
Given the best ride as well.
Jump for fun.
Didn't miss a beat. He couldn't have been in better form. Native River, look, he's gone round Haydock this time on a track which is very, very sharp. He's gone round Kempton, which is the wrong way round, and stayed on well to be third round a track that it's just not his cup of tea. He'll be banged there. I'll go back to the Tizzards. Staying chasers. They've got Elegant Escape in there. It wouldn't surprise you in the slightest if he stayed on into a place. This sort of crack, he'll probably run okay in it, maybe finish in the first 6. But Clanderzobo, for me, beat a horse who was half fit last time out in Terrafort. The time was exceptionally slow. When you think Surname went round there in 2.5 seconds slower than standard and came out with a cracking RPR. This horse on the same day...
Is it that sort of horse, though, Clanderzobo?
Well, Clanderzobo on the same day was getting niggled at turning in, and the time was 16.5 seconds slow. It was a very, very slowly run race. He looked very, very impressive, but he has yet to prove that he stays 3 mile 2.5 at Cheltenham, which one man, you go back to one man, looked very impressive round Kempton. Did he not? Won 3 King Georges. Didn't get up the hill on several occasions. So for me, Clanderzobo looks... Harry Cobden is going to play him late. I don't think he'll stay.
Okay.
Personally, 2.7.5 at Ascot isn't a replica of what Cheltenham is all about. King George still doesn't replicate
I've
it.
never seen a man look quite so depressed as now.
I'm all over the fact
Enzo's
that
thinking, where am I going to get the school fees money from?
I'm all over the fact that presenting Percy. I
don't in the commentary box.
I don't care about the preparation, whether it's unconventional or whatever. He's 2 from 2 round Cheltenham. He slammed Monolly and Album Photo in the last year.
That was so impressive, that RSA.
He
wasn't it?
loves Cheltenham, this horse.
Kemboy beat Monolly 7 lengths last time. Just
Yeah,
as
but
easy as presenting Percy.
the point
double
is
the
with
price.
Kemboy,
Not-
but
not just
Kemboy
as easy, trust me.
doesn't like Cheltenham. He's 0 from 2 round Cheltenham and hasn't shown anything. He got such a soft lead at Leopardstown last time out. Jumping, you've plenty of people say about presenting Percy's preparation.
Presenting Pervy.
How many horses would have won over hurdles out of this Gold Cup field like he did.
I prefer presenting Percy to Clanders Oboe, without a doubt. And I prefer
They're the same
presenting
price, aren't they?
Percy to Native River.
Matt, what do you think? I mean, you've
Well, I think presenting Percy, everyone is just guessing. Like, it doesn't matter if you're the best form student in the world, you do not know whether presenting Percy is good enough, because we don't know. He won the RSA like an absolute monster, like a brilliant horse, like an Altior, like a Sprinter Sacra. Like, it was just so impressive. He just came there travelling. You knew he'd won a million miles
You've just
out.
hit the nail on the head. You've just mentioned him in the same breath as those type of horses.
In that race. What I'm saying is visually. That was visually. So, and let's not forget, he's done it over hurdles at Cheltenham as well. And the other thing is, there are two horses in this race that I think are built for their jockeys. Native River's built for Richard Johnson, and Presenting Percy is built for Davy Russell. That sort of quietly ridden, pouncing kind of ride. And you could just see him cruise round. I think there are two things about Percy. I think he's got pace, that horse. He's won over 3 mile 5 in Ireland, but in a race that was nothing like a Gold Cup. And as Andrew would hopefully testify, stamina is all about the horses you're running against. I mean, Frankel would win over 3 miles against Selling Platers. Do you know, the point I'm trying to say is class comes into stamina. And the race that Presenting Percy won over 3 mile 5 did not prove that he stays long distances, or longer than 3 miles anyway, over with proper grade 1 opposition. But he could just be miles better than all of these Presenting. He could be.
do you think if there's a champion in the race, it's him? He's a
No,
real
not necessarily. I'm just saying he could be a worldie, and only the race will tell us. How do we know off? He's only just beaten Kalaltovic, who's relatively useless. He's only just beaten Limini, who would not be a massive fancy for any race. So,
But how? No, he was ears pricked, bolt upright
but only a couple of
between the
lengths,
last
Andrew.
two. What would
Kalaltovic would be 3 fences behind in the Gold Cup.
Yes, but he doesn't do a stroke when he's in front. That's my point. The thing is with him, what I like is where he came out of. Tom Costello produced The Thinker. They found Cool Dawn. They found Best Mate. They found.
I'm sure they found a lot of rubbish
They
ones
have
as well.
found but the whole thing is from a jumping point of view. This horse has been jumping since he was a 3-year-old over fences, before he's ever had a saddle on his back. It's the school where he's come out of. They school him. They jump before they can gallop. The fact that he hasn't. It would worry me more if he'd run in the Bobby Joe. It would have satisfied everybody that he's run over fences. But we all know he jumps brilliantly. So why
All
do
the
they?
trainers that we've
But
spoken
why
to-
do they need to satisfy everybody else? If he'd had 3 runs in 6 weeks, that would worry me. The fact is that he had a.
But the race is going to answer all these questions. If he wins, Pat Kelly will go down
But
as
the
one
whole
of the
thing
legends
is,
of the game of what he's done.
we've
If he
se-
gets beat, everyone will say,
we've
"What
se-
were you doing, Kelly?"
Matt,
Like,
we've seen Best Mate and horses winning at Christmas and then not running. The whole thought before was, everybody was saying, oh, can you run a horse and just winning before Christmas and then go and win a Gold Cup? That was blown completely out of the water by Best Mate. So that stat has been
But
completely put to bed.
there's no logic to this kind of thing. Make a Stand won the Champion Hurdle. I know it's a Champion Hurdle. Having run about 10 times, have been round Stratford in the summer and won, the Tote Gold Trophy at Newbury and things like that, and won a little race under Chris Maud at Stratford along the way. And then you've got Bouvedere who runs 2 or 3. I mean, every horse is different. I just
Exactly.
don't think there's a logic to one horse can only run
And
once.
you'd like to think that the trainer is going to know more than anyone.
Well, you
Let's
know
come
this
back to it.
Cheltenham form. What's the Cheltenham's trainers, his form at Cheltenham with the horses he's had going there?
Okay.
Last 5 horses
Pat
have gone
Kelly.
there.
Kelly.
He's had 3 winners and Maldini got beat that.
Well, no one even knows Pat Kelly's still alive, to be quite frank. But look, Presenting Percy, if he wins, no one's going to be surprised. If he loses, no one's going to be surprised. I just don't know. I can't even really have a massive opinion on him. He could be a monster. Clanders Oboe, I actually don't. I think stamina I hadn't really thought of too much, but Andrew might be right about that. I think he could have jumping issues. I don't like the
He's
strangling.
jumping. He's jumping.
I don't.
Brilliant.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
His stamina is
I
completely.
will predict now Clanders Oboe will come down. Native River for me is just a brilliant bet.
Solid.
A brilliant
Even each way
bet.
at 5 to 1.
Because rain's coming. Ketley says it's going to be soft. I believe him. And the Cheltenham Gold Cup has bottomed horses, but Native River is a horse who loves to be bottom. That's what he does. He's not a normal type of horse. And
He hasn't been bottom this year either.
No, he's not flimsy. He's not flimsy. He's just, when the going gets tough, Native River gets going. And for me, as I say, he's built for Richard Johnson. You know, the moment the tape's up, chucked into that first fence, stays all day, loves the mud. And when these horses hit the pain barrier at the 3 mile, and they've got to do that extra 2.5 furlongs, that's when Native River's he's going to have a look at them and say, okay, come and get me if you're hard enough. Because that's when he gets going. And I just think...
You're a Native River man.
all over. And I think Bells Hill
Yep.
has the talent to run really well, but he has thrown away. I mean, he should have won the Irish National. He threw it away. He is talented, and he'll be ridden, I imagine, not off, right out the back. He could be
He'll
the
stay.
Annabelle Fly of 12 months
He's
ago.
on his own. He's on his own. There's plenty of these.
The plodder who could plod
He's
through.
from my point of view, he's your Sir Rembrandt, who they're not. They just stay and they keep galloping and they keep going up the hill.
Okay,
The best horses don't always win the Gold Cup, as in because it's such a difficult
plodder's
race.
race. I've said this for years.
3 times up the hill at Cheltenham.
That's right.
But
It
the
is
thing
plodders.
is, they set off over the first 2 fences, flat to the boards, and that's where it gets them to start with. That you're setting off at the bottom of the hill, and you've got to come up that hill 3 times.
I can't remember a single Gold Cup winner that had to be strangled all the way around. Clandes Obo. I can't think of
Is
any...
he a wayward lad?
He's not as good as Wayward Lad.
No.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
You know, travel coming to the last, but from the back of the last.
Lots of good
you've gotta
horses.
come
Like
off the
Cypher
bridle.
Mortar was one of my favourite horses. They always tried to make him into a Gold Cup horse. He'd always win what was the pillar chase then, probably the Cotswold.
One man.
And he wouldn't get home. I know.
You see, Clandos Over isn't a one man.
No. Is he
One
more
man
of a-
didn't get up the hill.
What about Jacquardin? We did it was second so many times, wasn't he? Didn't quite have that last.
He
sort
just
of
wasn't
kick
good
up the
enough,
hill.
was he?
There's not many
It was
horses
probably-
that win
it
the
was
King
and
George and the
stamina.
Gold Cup, is
They're
there?
running around
stamina.
there.
They're completely different races, the King George and the Gold Cup.
It's
That's
running
why not
about
many horses
40
win the pair.
seconds.
Seymour did it, didn't he? You rode Seymour in the
Seymour was, but how good he was.
So you're saying Clanders Obo's nowhere near your Corto Stars, Denmans,
yet.
Seymour businesses, isn't
That's
he?
not, look, I mean, he might be.
But his
not
he also,
going into
you
this.
go through his pedigree with Clanders Obo. There's not, from a staying point of view, there isn't that staying pedigree either. Whereas presenting Percy, you go and have a look.
You can get your money
stamina.
back, Enzo. Get it back now.
Stamina.
Just trying
That's
to
the
see if
message.
any non-runner no bet or some sort of.
I mean, but I think we're saying there's anything between 4, 5, 6 horses in this race. If they win, we're not going to stand there and say, how's that won the Gold Cup? You know, it's wide open, which is why we've sort of gone for Kenboy as a bit of a value, because we don't want to be with Clanders Obo. We think...
Well, Willie's thrown four at the race. He's never won the race before. Your album photo, your Bells Hill, invitation only. The Theistes has a good. There's another horse. If you are looking for something that might hit the frame at a big
25
price,
to 1 invitation only.
it's the Theistes on his own. You know, it's a real staying race that.
We've got to wrap
He's a
up.
massive
Presenting Percy, you're with.
Absolutely, 100%.
Max Native River.
Absolutely,
5 to 1.
101%.
Kenboy.
Kenboy, a bit of value.
I'm not quite 100% now on Clanders Obo, more about 10% after.
36%.
Yeah, I'll stick with Clanders Obo, who the panel don't fancy at all. That wraps up the Magners Gold Cup thoughts here on the myracing.com Cheltenham Festival Preview. Let's talk about the rest of day 4. I mean, we've got 4 other races, haven't we, on the 4th day? Fox Hunters, the Fred Winter, the Grand Annual.
Fox Hunters,
Come on.
Hazel Hill,
Look,
100%.
Copy his notes.
Hazel Hill, I saw him win last year at Sheriff Hutton. He's won 3 out of 3 over Hunter chases. Very impressive at Warwick. He might be 11 years old, but this is the first year they've decided to be bold enough to go and have a. He's a Scottish national. For me, after this, go for the Scottish national because he's so well handed. He's off a marker 139. Potentially for me, he's as good as an Earth Mover, who won a Fox Hunters. He's completely unexposed.
6 to 1 with Bet Victor.
Completely unexposed type. Alex Edwards on board, very, very good jockey, and the horse is just uncomplicated. They'll go a real solid gallop, and he's the type of horse that doesn't have to be in the mix early doors, but stays particularly well.
Hazel Hill, strong word.
yeah, I don't follow the Hunter chase scene, but I've got a pal who does, and he told me a couple of months ago he was so bullish about Hazel Hill.
Looked good at Warwick, didn't he, that day?
Yeah.
When he beat a good field.
And also mentioned
Annual.
Grand Annual, There's one particular guy back at head office who's all over Dr. Phoenix. He thinks he's been plotted up by Gordon Elliott, will want soft
16s.
ground. I think he's 11-year-old now. Definitely will want it on the soft side, but he's been going on about this, banging on about it. So I've got to mention Dr. Phoenix in the Grand
He'll have to beat a Grade 1 winner in the making. Darryl Jacob won on him at Wincanton. He said this is a Grade 1 horse.
6-1 Magic Saint.
Down the line.
Just one other horse which I haven't mentioned that I'm definitely having a few quid on during the week, wherever it goes. It'll be either in the county or the Coral Cup, I imagine. Whiskey Sour, who's been off the track since November. People remember Grade 1 winning juvenile novice hurdler. Just a horse that loves a strong pace, big field, cruises round the back. And the last time he ran, I think, was in November, so he's been off the track quite some time, November, December time. But look at it's a bit like the Sard de Burley in-running comment. Look at this for an in-running. Ray Dawson absolutely did the job to perfection here. Raced towards rear, pushed along a little bit, 3 furlongs out, kept on, went inside final furlong, never nearer, finished 9th of 20. That was the perfect tee-up for the Cheltenham Festival 3 months later.
And you another one for the Kim Muir Measure of My Dreams. Now with Noel Mead, was with Willie Mullins, was behind Native River in the 4-miler a couple of seasons ago.
Measure of My Dreams, in the Kim Muir.
Has only had the one run in the last 18 months.
Whiskey Sour 10-1 for the Coral Cup.
Yeah.
Whiskey Sour from 16 has been backed. Whiskey Sour, another eye catcher. We're almost done, aren't we? We've done complete. Let's just do the charity bets then, shall we? We've got Bet Victor have kindly given us an offer of a £50 charity bet with all winnings going to the Injured Jockeys Fund. I'm going to go with Magic Saint. Andrew's convinced me that about 6-1. I'll have my £50 win Magic Saint 6-1 to win 350 for the Injured Jockeys Fund. Dean Goddard, your charity bet is
Commander of Fleet in the Albert Bartlett. Yeah,
7-1.
Straight win. Commander of Fleet.
7's Commander of Fleet, Albert Bartlett. Andrew,
Well, I'll go for the big one itself, Presenting Percy.
Solid.
Without question.
Okay.
Jump in.
If the charity bet had been £1,000, I'd have had Sir Eric or Benny de Dieu. But for 50 quid, I'm going to take you on, actually. I'm going to stick with Native River. I think he's a great... He's just
At least we have 2 shots at it.
2 shots at the Gold Cup. You haven't got Clander's but anyway, the Injured Jockeys Fund could benefit. So Matt's going with Native River as charity bet for the Gold Cup. Andrew is Presenting Percy for the Gold Cup, and Dean's charity bet is going to be Commander of Fleet in the Albert Bartlett at 7-1.
Yep.
And I'm going to go with Magic Saint. Hopefully a few quid there for charity. Fingers crossed. And that just about wraps up the preview. Just to remind you again that you can log on to myracing.com for all the latest information. The preview's on there, the tips are on there. You can watch this preview, of course, and why not follow us on Twitter as well, at myracingtips. And don't forget the Bet Victor offers as well. The special price is 30-1 for the top trainer market with new accounts on betvictor.com, and also the free bet every race offer. Just bet £5 for a £1 free bet for every race, plus a £10 casino bonus. You've been watching the My Racing Cheltenham Preview. Thanks, lads. Matt, many thanks for coming in.
No, great fun.
Good stuff. Good luck for
We
next
solved the festival very quickly.
Sorted.
All looks very easy the week before, doesn't it?
Andrew, many thanks.
I hope we're not doing one afterwards.
Enjoy that you're up there for 5 Live.
I am all week. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Well done with sticking your neck out with Frodon.
Thank you.
Well done, old
Thank
boy.
you.
Lots of neck sticking out. Dean, many thanks obviously for organising us and getting this put together.
No problem.
Fantastic work as ever. And some good advice, I think, from Dean as well.
And Enzo, you've led us well, I felt.
Thank
It's
you.
one of your better performances.
Thank you. Didn't have much to
You're not
do.
going to give us
Not much to
You're
beat.
not going to give us the commentary of the Gold Cup as before we go. Come on, give us the final
Enzo.
furlong
You
of the
told me
Gold
that
Cup.
Clander's on the floor already, so I'm a bit
Well,
worried
stick
about
him on the floor then.
Yeah, go on. Final furlong. Gold
Final
Cup.
Go on, final furlong, Enzo. You keep telling me you're better
Native
than
River's
Royals
in
and
front.
that.
Here's Presenting Percy, but Clander's Cobden hasn't moved yet. He's going to win it on the snaff. It's Clander's He wins the Gold Cup. Paul Nicholls, he turns the clock back 10 years after Corto Star. Clander's wins. That's going to happen.
You a racecourse commentator?
Round of applause for Enzo.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, if you're lucky,
Not gonna happen, is it?
they'll cut that bit out.
Please, Dean, get them. Right, yeah, don't forget to follow us on Twitter as well, at My Racing, and well worth a look. And of course, log on to the website as well. Many thanks, lads. It's been a pleasure to host the My Racing Cheltenham Festival Preview for the 2019. To wish you all the best of luck, of course, for next week. Let's hope you find a winner or two along the way next week. Thank you for watching our preview of Cheltenham.